Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday Morning Murder Podcast. I am your host, Faye Fire, aka Erin, and my co host, Miss Mandy, will be here with us momentarily. She's just dealing with some things backstage, so she will be here shortly. But we are here to discuss episode 304, which was called 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis. And this was, of course, another crazy episode of Yellowjackets, and a full-on miscarriage of justice went down. A lot of really intense scenes and great acting all around. And of course, we lost somebody that's very important to us. So we have so much to talk about today. It's just, it's a lot. I've watched the episode like 4 times at this point, and I just still feel like I haven't absorbed everything that happened in there because it was just so much. And like the court hearing, we talk about this sort of connection to the old film, 12 Angry Men, and really there are so many like facets to that are interwoven into this episode, with each of the girls kind of having their own motivations and their own reasoning behind their way of voting. And it's, whether they're being honest with themselves or not is a really big question. So we had a lot going on, and I'm looking at Mandy backstage. I don't know if that's necessary, bro. But so we have a lot to talk about this morning. Let's add Mandy in here. Okay. Some of us are in mourning a little more intensely than others. Some of us are,
Why?
we have a teen timeline vibe and an adult timeline vibe going on. So, Mandy, how are you feeling?
Citizen detectives, friends, hive. Why? We lost our seer. Why? Who is the queen of the underworld? We'll see.
It's a very intense times going on. You look cute. I like your headphones. You look good. And the red
Thanks.
lipstick looks good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of all
Hop
over the
in.
place. So,
Hop in with the black top. I like it. You look good.
how's
Okay.
my
So
audio though? Is everyone is it better?
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. How
Perfect.
do we sound? Are there any issues with audio for you guys? Let us know if everything sounds good. And welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. We have a brand new um channel member that's joined us, Appalachian Absinthe. So definitely check out. You should have access to some brand new emojis that are exclusive to channel members. So definitely take a look in your little smiley emojis and stuff. Hopefully that should be showing up for you. Otherwise, I can send you the codes for it or what have you, but I think it just like automatically shows up. But thank you for joining the channel. And we also have Mrs. Duncan the Tall here. We have Kelva Karain, Wild Marjoram, Maddie Guzman. Thank you guys all for being here watching. And anyone else, hello. Welcome to the chat. And yeah, so we got to get into this. There's a lot of really exciting stuff that went on. By the way, I wore my duck feathers. I've been saving these for some unknown special occasion, and that arose. So, nod to Misty, who was our MVP, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, drop who you guys had your MVP in the chat, but personally, Misty just was everything to me this episode. I really loved her. So, Mandy, what do you think? Who was your MVP?
My MVP of episode was Coach Ben because he came to the realizations and he wasn't afraid to apologize. He realized, and I feel like this whole episode was about: do you recognize that you can't apologize? Do you recognize, can you change? Kind of when he drops his whole dialogue in his trial, he talks about, how he ended up like his parents. And a lot of people end up doing stuff like that. Like we become like our parents, just by default. And it has to deal with like kid trauma wounds and trying to change, and him recognizing that he didn't, and he actually did kind of do the same things. So I think that was like a big realization, just internally and in healing wise, and like, my Carl Youngness and or Yoon, however you want to say. Please don't attack me, but and also just the fact that he did something, whether just be telling the truth, he's still doing things to change it, or letting Mari be free. He's changing. And that was another thing in the episode. What are you doing to change? So that's mine, Coach Ben.
Well, that's good. Yeah, he was really incredible this episode, and his monologue was beautiful. It was emotional. There was just incredible acting all around in this episode. And I just loved every second of it. It was just so much to take in. A couple of things before we get too far into it. So I wanted to remind everyone that we are in the midst of It Chooses, which is our Yellowjackets themed March Madness. So if you haven't been voting, definitely check out our voting bracket that is on my posts, my community posts on my channel page, as well as on X or Twitter. If you are on X or Twitter, go on over there and start voting there. It's been a little quiet on X, so we want to get that going and get it popping off over there, just so we can factor in the votes all together, because right now the YouTube votes are really smashing it. So let's get it going over on X. And so, yeah, we have daily polls going all through the month of March, and we are going to find out who it chooses. And it's already getting exciting. So we're going to show you the bracket probably when we're about halfway through. Sorry, my husband making dramatic faces over there. Okay. So Mandy, are you here with us? What are you doing? Are you here? Okay. Do you want to read us the episode description?
Yes. Yes, okay. Of course. 12 angry girls and one drunk Travis. The Yellowjackets attempt to spin 100 suspicions into proof. Coach Scott has an existential meltdown and wonders if the universe really does hate him. Meanwhile, Jess embarks on a crusade to make things right energetically. Is it Jeff karma? Is it sinister? What is it? What is this stuff happening this episode? Let's get into it.
Yes, there was a lot of fingers in the pot. And of course, Travis was also doing his Travis thing, and I'm excited to talk about that. So before we jump into what's that?
Let's not assume it makes an ass out of you and me.
Very true.
I think that might have been
if I can't make an ass out of me.
Well, as long as we admit that we were wrong, or that we could be on something.
It's important to admit when you're wrong.
I will not admit that I'm wrong about Crystal, though. So let's just,
about Crystal?
Yeah, I will not admit that. There's a difference between being wrong and belief.
Okay. I really had like a breakthrough about Crystal this week when I was working on the It Chooses stuff, because I realized that, and I guess I never noticed it before, but how Jessica Roberts is really like reminiscent of Crystal. And she's almost like foreshadowing of everything that happened with Crystal. And also when we consider Crystal and Misty when they're talking about who they'd like to have dinner with or what have you, and Misty says Dr. Kevorkian, which if you guys are familiar with his work, he's the grandfather of assisted suicide. So I just think that's really an interesting thing for Misty in particular, just considering what happens with Jessica and the fact that she like works with all these old people who are like old and dying. So it just kind of makes you wonder what she's up to. But anyways, just had that little breakthrough, had to throw it out there. I don't know if anyone else has caught that. I don't know why we don't talk about it more, but like Crystal and Jessica are supposed to kind of, I think, like similar characters. Anyhow, all right. So let's get into the music choice. We didn't even talk about this. I made an executive decision again. We didn't have a lot of options this episode. I chose the sign. I saw the sign.
Of course. And it opened up my eyes.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I've told you guys this story before, but for like my 10th birthday, I got the cassette tapes of Ace of Base, The Sign, and Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. That was like my birthday present. And I used to just jam on those. And The Sign was obviously a relevant song because well, Shauna missed the sign on the door which says you are not locked in, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but personally, I also felt like All That She Wants was like a very relevant song choice, Asa based song choice for Shauna. But I get it. I get the reasoning.
Super. Yeah.
So, and of course, like
Definitely.
Linger was also played in this episode. I'm not a big fan of Linger
Well,
personally. I don't know.
it's played out, but also I think in this episode the way that they did it, because like Ty's making death linger, like do you have to let it go, like do you have to let this moment go on, and it's kind of behind the scenes work for me.
Mhm.
But the other song, I don't know what it was actually. It was when Taissa and Van are putting the card down, but the lyrics there were fire and dynamite compared to what they were doing, because it was talking about I actually have to pull up my notes. So I'm behind, guys. Just bear with me. But the
Um,
whole scene was talking. You know the song?
the one with the Queen card? No, I don't know what song that was. Does anyone in the chat know? Tell us if you guys know. We're very responsible podcasters here. But no, I didn't. I don't know what that song was. One thing I did think about with Linger was like if you actually read the lyrics to that song, even though it kind of is like this dreamy kind of like love song going on or whatever, it's actually not. It's like it's like a heartache song, and so or it's like yeah, so it's kind of how Ty and Van's relationship is, where they're not honest, or there's just so much baggage going on, especially with Ty. And I don't know, their whole storyline is just killing me because I just can't like move past the fact that Taissa, we're just abandoning the senator storyline. I mean, I feel like it's probably going to come back relevant at some point, but I just feel like if you're out like walking the streets with some strange woman that's not your wife, that, you're a well-known public figure who obviously you're disgraced, and that's just been within the last few weeks. So therefore, there's going to be a lot of other like uh um people like watching you and paparazzi and that kind of thing, the press. And so I almost felt like with that guy that there was something more going on with him. Like maybe he was a cop or something. Like there was just some kind of interesting vibes going on with him. I don't know. Did you think so? Did you pick up on that, or am I just like really really reaching and grasping at straws? Maybe.
I think we're ready for that character to show up. So I think you're like anticipating it. So it's not really reaching, but I don't know about that character particularly. I can't find in my notes, but anyway, the song was more about death and like it choosing who it wants to choose and stuff like that. So I'm sorry. Anyway,
Yeah. I don't know. It
we'll
was
move on.
it was interesting. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so
I need one
let's
more
get.
minute.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, go ahead. I don't know what's happening right now. Sorry. Okay, a couple other things I wanted to talk about too before we jump into it. So let's circle back. I want to talk about Ozzy's Ice Cream, which was the ice cream shop from the last episode. And so when we were talking about it, we had the sign we had with Ozzy's Ice Cream, and it has the man with no eyes on there. And so, and obviously Taissa, she saw this old commercial, and it was really, and we kind of talked about this last week, was Van seeing the same thing that Ty was seeing on the television, or was she just kind of playing along and kind of like, what are you talking about? And so anyway, so as soon as we got off of our live stream, I found something very interesting online, and so I wanted to share that with you guys. This is from the actual commercial that they were watching, and there's a quick shot up on their like main board up here, and this guy that's pictured on the board, he is not the man with no eyes. He is apparently who Ozzy actually is. So Taissa is Taissa-ing. She's seeing things that aren't real, and Van is just kind of like, Van doesn't really know how to react to that. She's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about, but like really, like she's like, okay, you're crazy. And I think she's seeing more and more, like we're seeing more of Dark Taissa, and like her two sides are kind of merging, in my opinion. Like they're kind of coming together, and it's not becoming so dramatic when it's one side or the other. And maybe that's because she is with Van, and Van is sort of her guiding light, or seemingly, I mean, that's why Taissa has done all the, I don't know. I'm trying to like I'm trying to come to terms with her and the abandoned storyline of the senator, because I'm like, why did any of that happen? Why did any of that happen? So like, I guess maybe it happened to bring her and Van together, except for that doesn't even make sense. So I don't know. I'm still reasoning with it, guys. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the chat. But so, all right, let's move past that. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. So Taissa, she's seeing something else entirely, or this is a continued vision of the man with no eyes. Obviously, it's, if he's not the guy in the ice cream commercial, and it's whoever this person who's pictured on the board is, then obviously the man with no eyes is, still haunting her for some reason, and we don't really know exactly who he is or where he comes from. If he was the ice cream guy, the guy actually pictured on the sign, then we would say, oh, okay, she's just having some kind of weird psychological like mix up with like her grandmother's death and just all of that. Or maybe, I don't know, whatever. We don't have to get into the what ifs, but yeah, so if it's not that guy, then it's just Ty's mind messing with her. So I thought that was relevant. I just wanted to bring you guys up to date with that, because it's interesting. So, all right. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring up to you guys that I thought was really interesting, and I feel like we're kind of going through this cycle with real life dates that we're dealing with. So we started season 3 on Valentine's Day. Interestingly, I found this past weekend is when the Salem witch trials began 333 years ago. And we talked a lot about the relevance of the number 3. Obviously, it's something that they're kind of playing with in season 3. There's a lot of 3 symbolism going on. There's triangle symbolism. There's just a lot of different things going on with it. And so I just thought that it was really interesting that we had the date of Coach Ben's trial falling on the same time as the real life Salem witch trials occurred. And it's almost like a reversal of it in a certain sense, because oh, it is Lupercalia. Oh, interesting. See, I'm out of date. Interesting. All right, we'll bring that up in momentarily. Uh, so yeah, I just think there's kind of some relevance going on with and I don't know if this was intentional. I mean, it's really hard to say that the show creators were able to facilitate getting the show written in such a way that starting it on X date was aligned with the scheduling at Paramount and all of that. A lot of yes ands, but I'm here for it, as Walter said, yes, and we've got to be willing
But
to.
I think in time right now, and this is my personal belief, in time, and especially what's been happening in my life, a lot of things are lining up with historical dates. History does repeat itself, and I think that needs to be recognized, and it might be different characters, but are we playing the same game? Is it the game that we're hunted? Who's the prey? What is happening here? And there are these trials, as far as trials happening all around. It's still nowadays. Like, I mean, I don't know, give us some, raise your hand, throw some like justice signs or something in there. Justice is blind, So if you experience the same thing, because I have been like lining up, especially around Easter time, with some of my prophetic type life. It's hard to explain. It's a long story, another time, another situation. But it really does happen. So if you start learning on the like I pay attention to the ancient Babylonian calendar actually a lot and the Hebrew calendar. So there's times and seasons just like same as the harvest season. And when you start to learn how they all connect, they really do connect. You know, same with the planetary alignments and whether you want to call it our signs. I saw it as a sign and it opened up our eyes.
Mm-hmm. You guys, okay, well, one last bit on that, and then I just got some really bad news. Okay, so all right, sorry, distraction. Okay, so I also wanted to point out that in 2 weeks from now is the Ides of March. So that is the day that Caesar was murdered. So I just think I'm like, if they are in some way, if they like tie that into that episode that falls, I think the 13th is on a Thursday. The episodes drop on Friday. It's Thursday for me because I'm in Alaska, but and I'm behind the times. But yeah, so I would love to see some sort of weird like overthrowing of Caesar tie into like whatever's going on. That would just be like amazing writing. I would just be so impressed if they were somehow
Mm-hmm.
able to like time this out. Or if it's just if it's just coincidental, well, hey, that is really amazing. That's talent. Okay,
And
guys.
there's St. Patrick's Day, and you could definitely see. See, I thought this whole episode, like Nat was very Pontius Pilate in this sense, like Ben carrying his cross with his sticks or whatever. That gave me that kind of vibe. So
yeah, there's a lot of well, yeah, because I think even we might have Easter
Good Friday,
like right at the end of. I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna
what if Coach Ben gets? Oh no, Easter's in April.
Okay,
but,
and I found this actually this Bible quote that was actually really making me think of Mari. It was Revelations 21:4, and I don't have my Bible right in front of me, so let me just look it up really quick. Revelation.
I got mine right here.
Oh, look up Revelations 21:4 for me. Because it's or maybe it's 21.
The New Jerusalem.
I don't know. I marked it down over here. Is it 21:4? Yeah, 21:4. The 7 bowls.
Well, here it's I'll do it for 3. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, "Look, the home of God is now among the people." See how Ben was talking about how the home was living and fresh. So the home of God was now among his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will remove all their sorrows, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain, for the old world and its evils are gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, "Look, I am making all things new." And then he said to me, "Write this down, for what I tell you is trustworthy and true." And he also said, "It is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give the springs of water and life without charge. To all who are victorious will inherit all these blessings, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowards who turn away from me, and unbelievers, and corrupt, and murderers, and the immoral, and those who practice witchcraft, and idol worshippers, and all liars, their doom is like the lake that burns with fire and sulfur. This is the second death." That one?
Read the next one. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. And then it talks about the bowls.
The 7 bowls.
We talked about,
yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So then one of the 7 angels who held the 7 bowls containing the 7 last plagues came out to me. "Come with me. I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." So
Mari.
I don't know. I was feeling like Aquila. Okay. Anyway, so he took me in spirit to a great high mountain, and he showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. It was filled with the glory of God and sparkled like a precious gem, crystal clear like jasper. Its walls were broad and high, the 12 gates guarded by 12 angels, and the names of the 12 tribes of Israel were written on the gates. There were 3 gates on each side, east, north, south, and then the west. The wall of the city had 12 foundation stones, and on them were written the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
I just thought that whole section. Yeah, the 12, the 12, the 3s, and then the 7 bowls what they were talking about, which made me think of Shauna I told you to eat, bitch.
Happy
And
yeah.
but
And
also Mari being the wife of the lamb was what I was thinking. Mary, and so being the
mm,
wife of Christ. So, and I
okay.
felt like with Mari during the trial where they were when she was being questioned, like, her normal instinct is to kind of be aggressive and be sort of like that mean girl the way that she kind of is. But I think every time that she spoke and she said something that was sort of aggressive or something like that, she regretted it. You could see her instant regret with everything that she was saying. And so because she doesn't believe that Coach is like a bad person or a dangerous person or that he burned the cabin down. She just doesn't believe it after her experience with him. But like the way that the group is, of course they're going to be she's almost like Judas in a sense, right?
Hmm.
She's like the
Well,
Judas of the going against
kind
the
of
brothers,
not. I think
almost like reverse.
yeah, I think that the coach, but yes, in a sense, I think that coach knew he set her free because and forgave her because she knew not. He knew what was going to happen. I think he already knew that he was dead, and in a sense that he was in the cave already in an underworld.
Mhm.
Mari coming back, she just told the truth, and she did say, "Well, I don't think." That he was going to kill me, and I think that all the justifications were laid there. The greater point is that how power is so like corruptive, because despite all of the justifications, despite everything and all the proof that Coach has done, and Coach listed the whole thing of all these times he could have saved them, could have hurt them, could have done it. He never hurt anybody, but he
Mhm.
didn't help anybody, and it's like a lot of that is theme in this whole episode is like, did you do something to help it? And when you do, are you punished by the wilderness by taking charge, or should you let the wilderness choose?
Mhm.
And yeah, like Mari though, she just told the truth, and the words being twisted, that is just what the court does. I mean, let me tell you, I've been going through some stuff myself, and my words, like, they will twist it and use it and turn it however they want to do it. And they, instead of it being the truth, did you light the fire? Did you do it? No, it turned into a whole character objective. Like, it turned into like, hey, I need to attack this guy or get him whenever any way possible. And then it turned into pride and arrogance and just revenge and a vengeful taste, because I don't even think the girls understand like the vengeful part of it yet. As children, you really don't. You have to forgive the children and let them go, or
Mhm.
teach them in the ways they ought to be. But Coach didn't do that. So he's karmically getting back what he didn't teach, because he didn't even learn anything himself. But at the same time, they are, right now just mad and going off of like protective vibes. And that's the distinctive factor. Are we human or are we animal? Or this is where we come into play. And if they're starting to bring religion and bring into these bigger things and bigger human concepts and ideas, they need to start having their trials and not just, kill them and do this stuff. But still, we see that there's like Lord of the Flies, we still they are in that wilderness mindset where they are like, you know, still praying, and not praying like this, but they're actually just like praying and trying to live and fighting to survive. And even, in the timeline, then in the present day, I want to fight, I want to survive, but not like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just this bigger thing, and I
Yeah.
loved how they did it, the scene to scene juxtapositions, and kind of like going back and forth for when each girl's on trial.
Mhm. Yeah, you can see they were definitely playing with the parallels between the 2 storylines, but I think that it's also providing a lot of foreshadowing to what's gonna be happening in the second half of the season with the adult timeline, because whatever happened with Lottie, is now kind of becoming this sort of murder mystery, and it's gonna be reminiscent because we can see, like, through the trailers that, Misty is going to be the one pursuing it, trying to figure out what happened, what's going on, and her being set apart from the other girls already in the teen timeline where she's the one that's willing to defend, not even that she's willing, but she's sort of been uh like appointed the person to defend Coach Ben. And she's really the only person that can do it. And we have that beautiful moment between, I mean, there's so, like like I said, Misty is my MVP this episode, and I really loved the dynamic that we saw between her and Natalie. I just feel like we're seeing kind of the origins of their friendship, and I swear I feel like by the end of the series, we're probably going to look at, like going back to Misty and Nat in the adult timeline in season 1, how they were kind of having their like buddy comedy going on or what have you, but Misty is so loyal to Nat. And so we have the origins of that in the wilderness and their friendship. And I think that they probably have the healthiest friendship dynamic out of the whole, show. The way those two are, even though they're kind of like, they have their own quirks and everything, but they are so loyal to each other because you see Natalie trusts Misty to defend Coach Ben and literally be like the only person that could potentially save his life if that's what it comes down to. You can tell she doesn't trust the other girls, even though she is their leader. That is like a kind of tenuous position. That could,
Yeah,
it's just not like a firm, and it's not even like she's fully stepping into it and being authoritative. That's just not who she is. But she is the moral authority because she has a good heart. And so it's interesting, like that they want her to be their leader for that reason, or maybe it's just Lottie's direction when she kind of appointed her or said that's what the wilderness desires. But I don't know. It's just it's interesting the way things are going.
a lot to it. Yeah, and I love how Misty comes up to Coach Ben. I mean, she definitely is a dramatic character, and like, how dare you do this to me? After everything I did for you, oh my gosh, we were friends. I loved you, and like she just makes it kind of all about her, despite the fact that Ben's on trial, and he's gonna do it like he has to forgive her first, and he's like, Misty, I wouldn't do that, and like kind of like this comment here about, or the comment from Michaela, yeah, just like he doesn't care. I mean, he does care, but what can he do? He knows that it's not going to matter to these angry girls, and that's part of him growing up is him realizing that like he probably would have done the same thing when he was their age, and that's kind of like how Jesus said, he's like, well, I am who you say I am, but I'm not this person, and but I ended up being just like my parents, which that kind of trauma, and we do end up being like our parents, especially like narcissists and like covert narcissists. Like we are, and I speak it because I've been, I struggle with it. We all struggle with it, but at least I realize it, and I'm trying to make some changes. Like because I was a conditioned to be that way, and a lot of us are conditioned in our environments, and we don't know any better. Or like what Coach Ben did, I did everything the opposite to be like my mother. I didn't want to be like her at all. But at the same time, you pick up some characteristics, and despite that, I just went from like one side to the other and try to be like, but you have to find that middle common ground and realize that imbalance it all, and imbalance it in emotional intelligence, and imbalance it in other ways that aren't just like you're right or you're wrong, you're this and that. And they give you all these reasons during this trial, like all these, well, maybe this, maybe that. And that's actually the sense. Like you don't right and wrong. Who is the judge what's right and wrong? In my personal opinion, I'm probably more to blame for my own things than anybody else. But have other people done some nasty things? Yeah. But I'm probably to blame because I knew I should have. I didn't listen, and or I made it about something that didn't matter. And that's what's happening here is they're making it about something that didn't matter. And right now they're treating Coach like he doesn't matter. Like even no matter what he says, they're treating him like meat. I felt such with Misty too doing this. Like she started to get like I think after she let herself out, after she projected on him how she felt inside, it was more of a like, okay, but now I'm gonna forgive you, and I'm gonna like Coach Ben was more her pet than anything, I think. Sorry, my son.
Well,
but like
it's interesting.
Like Caligula, like he was like Caligula, like when Caligula's mad, she's like, "Oh, Caligula, you're right," or "I forgive you," but like. She right now, Misty wants to save a life. She wants to be known for that. She wants to get her recognition back.
He said, "I'm in a jail with the birds." It's so perfect.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like he's like a pet, and she's trying to show off her skills more than save his life. So they're not really looking at the maybes.
I think she, started to feel like well, she has an empathetic heart. So I guess once she saw him, sitting there in the jail with the ducks or with the birds, and he's helpless, and she loves a nice little helpless, you know, creature. That's just her thing. And so yeah, I think that her instinct kicked in, and that's when she's the most valuable, as we've learned. When she's under those high pressure situations, that's when she like really comes alive. And one thing I wanted to point out that I think I forgot to point out last week, I made the video about the black box, and last week when Shauna and Missy were in the van in episode 3, and the van takes off and all this kind of stuff, and then afterwards Shauna's listing off all of, Misty's sins in life and all the thing. Why are you the way that you are, kind of? And she never mentions the black box. She never, that's not one of the things she calls her out for. She says like a whole list of offenses of Misty, but she never once brings up the black box. So it makes me wonder if like she never told them, especially after, her experience with Crystal and like Crystal's reaction. So I just think that's something we should keep in mind. Like, is she still keeping that secret? Despite the fact that Misty is actually kind of turning out to just be wonderful in the grand scheme of things. But
Well, I think Misty's taking a very Coach Ben approach, and I think we see that in this episode because instead of her staying there wanting to stab Shauna, sorry, all of these
yeah,
things are going off. Instead of I got like 20 phone calls today, like randomly in the past 2 hours.
I'm so sorry, you guys. We're both like dealing with weird things behind the scenes. Sorry.
So, yeah. So Misty, though, in the adult timeline, I think she's changing a lot, and we see her kind of reminiscing Coach Ben and saying, like, what, I can't be like this. I'm not going to stay around for this drama. I'm not going to stay here. Just how Coach Ben says, I'm not going to stay here. And she's like, I can't deal with Shauna's drama and all these things. And Shauna does project like this one, how can they do it? I really, after hearing Shauna say that, it might be Shauna that burned down the cabin because, she was quickly saying, no, that's crazy. That's stupid. Like, why would I do that? That's crazy. Like, and you see her again in the future lying about everything. She just lies to cover lies and more lies and lies. And that is like a true psychopathic narcissist, Machiavelli type thing, like the black triad. That is what they do, like compulsive lying. And it's really scary because she will not say, I'm sorry. They cannot say they're sorry. Like, they can't. Like, true narcissists cannot and will not apologize unless they are forced to. I'm sorry for not knowing what. I don't understand what thing, what this, what did I do?
Not apologize.
I didn't do anything, but you did everything and you did all these things and it's your fault. And let's blame shifting. They're going to, instead of saying, hey, I was with you when you did this. No, well, it's your fault that this happened and you're in charge, even though it's like, hey, we can't help it. Like, it's really hard to live with. And I think Jeff is also MVP here too because he's trying the best to like switch it around and change it. But you can see Shauna is rubbing off on him.
Honey Crispy asks, do you mind briefly speaking to the special report video that I put out? I will speak to that. Let's wait until we get to the adult timeline because there have been some updates in our exclusive reporting. We've received some exclusive updates, and I will be following up as this series progresses, as we receive new information. But thank you for asking, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So, and yes, Maddie says, go ahead.
Sorry.
That he believes the black box reveal will come to light in the adult time. Interesting. Yeah, it would be really, because, I think we all assumed that like they found out about that, like the group found out about that because when adult Natalie first comes to Misty's house and she's like, hello, Misty, you crazy F&B. That is such like an iconic moment, but like, why would she be saying that? Like, why would she think that about Misty? Now, maybe this is just the dynamic of their friendship. you know? Like I said, they're besties. And we see the origins of that. So maybe that's just the dynamic, but who knows? Who knows? But yeah, it would be interesting to see that reveal come
Mhm.
forth because that would not go well. Not
Mhm.
no. It's not gonna go well.
This is true too. It looks like it started outside first, and I loved how when it came up, Shauna's the one who alerted them. Like that, I didn't remember that. So
It's interesting. I never had considered that until I mean, Misty was great at sort of creating that reasonable doubt in the during the trial, like by pointing the finger, okay, well, Shauna, it could have been you for X reason. And we've talked about that countless times here where it's, we noticed that small, subtle when they announced that Nat was going to be queen, the camera panned from Misty to Taissa to Shauna, and all three of them were not were not pleased. Like Misty kind of thought it might be her, and so she stood up, but she didn't have like a terrible, I don't know, she didn't really have like a strong reaction. She seemed really fine with bending the knee. She's like, fine, I'm not going to be it, but Nat is the next best option in my, like, in her opinion. And so but Taissa and Shauna thinking that. And I just always think back to the pilot episode. I always bring this one up too. When Ty and Shauna are at the diner in the pilot episode and they're sitting there together and Shauna says, okay, well, as long as nobody does anything too crazy, we should all be fine. And meanwhile, it's the two craziest people sitting together. It's always two crazy bitches sitting next to each other saying exactly. And so that's Shauna and Ty in that scene. And that's me and you, Mandy, too. but but yeah, like I always think
that's
about that.
you. That's not me. That's all you.
Calm down, Shauna.
I'm
But
just your Misty over here, okay? I'm just your compass.
Misty misinformation.
And whatever I say, usually you do your own thing anyway, though. In so hard, I do have to say that. I know you do listen to me, but you always are like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing anyway.
I
But
know.
then,
I
yeah.
am like that.
And I've learned to accept it. I'm like, why am I even doing this?
I appreciate feedback. I accept feedback and suggestions, but I'm always just gonna do my thing that I want to do. Once it's like in my mind, I'm like, I don't care, blinders. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm doing what I am doing.
But you do care what I think, and you do it, and then you're like, I should have done with you, and then we do it together, and then it turns out better.
And then it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. Okay. All right.
You make me better. All I have to say is you make me better too. Okay, like you're my soul, and I'm the moon, and I would only shine based on your light, baby.
Oh, too kind. All right. You don't have to fluff my feathers too much.
I fucking love you.
Okay, so let's get back to, let me just check my notes here, just so we're not getting, so, we should talk about this scene that happened between, Shauna, Akila, and Van, and they're sort of, as they're walking back to the camp, they had that shared dream experience in the cave. And mind you, like, let's not forget who rescued them from the cave. It would be Coach. He crawled his one-legged self in deep into the depths of this cave and pulled out three girls. So it wasn't an easy feat, and he saved their lives. And just for them to turn on him, which is, just, I was like kind of disgusted by that. Like Shauna really, I guess whatever she's going for, like this sort of butcher queen, like, it's almost like the most powerful, the strongest is the victor, right? Kind of Viking mindset or something like that versus a democracy. And so of course this, anyways, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. But yeah, so they had this shared dream experience. That's where they saw Jackie, and they did the slap bracelet situation. And so as they're walking back to the camp, Akila is like, what the heck? And this is kind of Akila's first experience with like a her first near death experience. Shauna has gone through this before. She had it when she was giving birth. She had a near death experience. Van has gone through it a couple times. She's lived through the fire and to tell the tale, but this was Akila's kind of first near death. I mean, granted, besides surviving a plane crash, but but so she's kind of like very confused as to what caused that, and probably wants to learn more. It wasn't like an extremely negative experience, like we would say when Shauna had, her birthing near death experience, her birthing dream, and her time with a baby and all of that. Or like when Van is getting attacked by a wolf and nearly getting burned alive a couple of times. You know, Akila's was relatively a peaceful experience. And so that might be why she is interested in exploring that more. And I have a feeling that she's going to. I don't know what you guys think, but like she goes to Lottie afterwards because, Van was very quiet on the walk back. She was kind of like, sort of, I think, taking in what the reactions of the other girls were. And she was very stoic. And Shauna was just like, "Well, let's not go back to that cave again." It was like, uh, she says it was only a 6 out of 10 as far as crazy dreams go.
So
Shauna.
I wanna talk about this walk back because we talk a lot about elucidating mysteries and the rituals and the walks.
Mhm,
So them walking back with this and then walking back with like the meat or death, like just same with Hobby, except this time it's living. But Coach Ben has been, in my opinion, like in this underworld, like in death and experiencing death and talking to death in the cave, which is like the symbolism of the underworld.
mhm,
And he's the one who throws them. Like, if you know what the concept of throwing a rope is in like witchcraft, Native American symbolism, or just I mean saving someone's life in need, and throw a rope when people are drowning or about to die. And
mhm,
he threw a rope to, and it also is a way to cross spiritual lines, like go into the spirit world. If you're watching Mayfair Witches, they're doing this a lot right now on that, and it's really, really cool. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good show. But anyway, like to throw a rope, the person holding the end of the rope can either cut you off and let you drown or let you stay stuck in the spiritual path, or if you're
mhm,
walking, whether you're in the spiritual realm or not. Um, so this rope kind of thing, it's like an anchor too. Like, and Coach Ben admits later that he's a guard dog. And then you have these three kind of walking this path back from the underworld after experiencing some spiritual significance dream in another realm and connecting with the spiritual near death experience, which is kind of what the whole show is based on. Is are these near death experiences taking us to other significant spiritual levels?
mhm,
And so they all kind of did. Now, one is acting in fear. Shauna's acting in fear. Akila's acting in hope. It kind of gives hope. It gives a new life. And then I think Van's just used to it. Like that's why she's green. Like she is the heart of it. Like she's the psychopath type thing too. But she coincidentally too, she had the door there open, and in the future timeline, she has the same thing. The door. Do you want to
mhm,
go through the door this time or not? And she's choosing not to in this episode. Where last episode before the dream, and we're significantly starting out with how she talks about this. And Van is quiet because on their ascend from the underworld at this point, she's realizing and taking in all of this like ritualistic meaning and notion. And
mhm.
I feel like we're having similar storyline in the present day, which we'll talk about later. But I just want like to keep that in mind when we're going through all these conversations. Do you see the parallels?
Mhm.
Totally,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, and the way that also she's blindly kind of following Tai, like, we saw a little bit of pushback in this episode finally, uh, before it, went too far, but, I think yeah, anyways, we won't get in I'll save the adult timeline stuff, but yeah, I agree, I think that you're right, there was a lot of
Yeah.
parallels kind of going in here, and then we're gonna kinda see how Van is willing to handle it because like I said, like, Coach Ben saved their lives, and then Van still was the first person to raise her hand, like, he's guilty besides Shauna, so those 2 were really, like, ganging up, and I hated it, like, because
Me
they
too.
he just saved their lives, and the same goes with Mari, like, he could have killed her in the cave, I mean, these are all things they talk about during the trial, that, like, he could have done these terrible things and he didn't, and they're just unwilling to, I don't know, they're just out for blood. Shauna in particular, she's just so out for
I
blood,
think
and I think Ty is unconsciously, um, defending herself through the whole thing, whether she is aware, because she even kinda looks with shock at Van when
Mhm.
Van is willing to say Coach is guilty. She almost, like, looks a little bit surprised that that was Van's, decision, her
So
vote.
you know what I think about that is, and now that you brought it up, it just popped in my head is, and also Van being in fear. Like she was stuck. She was belted in the belt of truth, her truth so far, which we're going to talk about too, the belt of truth and her spiritual armor. When you wear the belt, she was belted into her car during that dream and belted into the seat and going to be burned on fire. So she could, and now facing something like that, like getting spiritual visions and getting these kinds of things, you are in awe and shock, like, did this happen? This is way too real to be a dream. I remember every second of it. Maybe Van was in fear, and maybe Van was trying to trade Coach Ben off for her because she felt like it was going to be her.
I
You know
don't
what I'm
know if
saying? Because like if you're living in fear, you're living in shock. She almost just felt like she died. She did it that way, and then when the wrist band hit her, she was bleeding. Like she still was half alive, half dead, but not quite like Shauna. But like
Mhm,
yeah, it was really interesting. But I think that she's try the reason she raised her hand so quick is because she knows that the wilderness needs some sort of justice payment and doesn't want it to be her. I really honestly believe that. And I think that's probably why Justice Brazos in the future, she's like, I don't want to do it like this because she's been living with that guilt the whole time.
mhm. This is a good question. Even if Ben saved them later after he was caught, does that mean they should excuse him burning the cabin, assuming they believe that he did? That's a really good question. Yeah, like, nobody died, and that's kind of the thing, at the end of the day, nobody died in the cabin fire, and so they can say attempted murder, but, like, that's sort of a pretty broad thing, and nobody died, so it was victimless. Um, but and then he saves lives as an alternative, so, like, I don't know, I think it's forgivable, even if they assume, like, even if he had burned the cabin down. Again, I think there's just too much reasonable doubt for them to say that, like, it was him for sure, especially considering, like, his testimony and then his actions after the fact. It's just, I mean, it's way too sloppy, but of course they are, they're out for blood the way that they are. Um, okay, so also I wanted to bring up, so when they are walking back into the camp, um, Travis is laying in his sort of, it's kind of interesting. He stayed back behind and he's laying in what I lovingly call his Merlin dream hut.
You know
This
who
is
he
Duncan
reminds
McCall,
me of?
if you're watching, I know you'll get it. He was totally Merlining out. He was having his dream, actually, he was actually Odining out, in my opinion. We have the one
Original
eye.
King.
He's
He's
holding
the
his
original King Julian. Original King Julian. Ah, yes. Messiah. Under the wilderness.
You know
That's what
what's so
I
funny
remind.
is actually because there's this crazy online, like, popular thing of Jackie being Mort. So, yeah. Anyways, um, so all right. So yeah, Travis stayed behind, Lottie stayed behind. Okay, perfectly normal behavior. And he's sleeping in his little dream den. He has these pictures of that Javi's drawings, which they made it out of the cabin, so that's cool. And now they have like a nice aged, burnt look to them, which is like very hip. And so he's got those up in his little house. He's got Javi's um wolf carving here. And I just love the whole thing. He's napping in there and he's kind of, I don't know, he's dreaming. He's got like his dream power going on. And I really do draw some parallels here with Odin because we talked about this in my video, that there are the Norse connections with his father and with the tree Yggdrasil, and potentially, the hanging man symbolism. Obviously, we know how Travis, his end comes, how he dies. So I don't know. I'm just feeling like a lot of Odin symbolism going on here, and the bloodline being connected to the tree. And, with Odin, he sacrificed one of his eyes so that he could gain the knowledge of the runes and this kind of thing. Now, granted, nobody's really lost an eye, although this was a fantastic shot of him waking up and having just one eye open. And I don't know. I don't know. The Odin symbolism is there. Tell me if you guys agree in the chat. And I didn't quite get that far. Like, after I released my video, my Travis video, I was like, dang, I was like one step short of getting there. I was like one step short. I should have just taken one more step and gotten to the Odin stuff, and I could have put that in the video, and I just didn't. And so I don't know. I might do another video. You guys seem to like the Travis video. It's getting some good views. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you are seeing the Odin symbolism, the Merlin symbolism, this kind of tree wizard type guy. I loved it though. And so we had obviously the title of the episode being 12 Angry Girls and One Drunk Travis. I didn't see like a lot of like drunkenness coming out of him. However, there was kind of some intersplicing of them all drinking while they were doing the voting process. So
I think that the drunkenness is because when you drink, remember that's part of the initiation and the ritual too that we've seen setting up. There seems to be this formula for the ritual, and I think that that's what's happening in the present timeline too. But Travis drinking is what's allowing him to do the visions and be, I guess, biblically or prophetically, you would say he was scribing, drawing, and doing art like that. So that's probably why he did all that during he didn't seem to care what was going on. But
maybe
yet he has this.
maybe that's kind of like the Odin stuff, like he loses an eye to learn the runes. And so Travis, I mean, he didn't lose an eye, but he had, he's able to like prophecy the drawings or whatever, the outcome, which is really interesting. So I wish they would have spent a little bit more time just emphasizing like him being drunk or something like that, so it sort of fit more, because it's such a title. It's such a mouthful. Not that I hate it. It is really interesting, and it has so much information in it, but yeah, it's kind of funny. So yeah. So Joseph, my X account is Faye at Faye_fire, and it's FEY is Faye. So, and we are doing the It Chooses polls on there. So definitely go on there. If you guys are on X, definitely follow me on there and partake in hashtag It Chooses, because we want to drive up the hype over there on X, but also here on the channel. So, and if you are new to the channel, if this is your first time watching, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are here every week to talk about Yellowjackets and other things as well, but we're having a lot of fun this week. So, all right, let's go. Okay, so let me get back to my notes here and see where we're at. So we have, Misty is named to be Coach's defense lawyer. Taissa, obviously, she volunteers to be the prosecutor. We see kind of the origins of Taissa's law career happening here. So that's really interesting. And we've talked about that a lot, about how kind of I believe that she pursued her law degree to sort of protect the girls from whatever they did out there. And like, because she practices land use, which is just a very random like law thing to study, especially for her, who, she desires sort of the upper echelons of power and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's funny that she chose land use of all things, but we can see maybe why, because you kind of want to know what you can do legally on plots of land. I don't know. I just think it's relevant. Okay.
Well, it
So
seems like she's trying to the tying and the rope, and even Travis. I mean, he's in a rope swing. There's a lot to the rope. I think I have a video about it, but she has to see in this whole thing where she's pulling more territory and sacrifice here, and her and Van are already tied up, so of course Van's gonna do it. But rope tied witches, and when you're tied to somebody in the witchcraft sense, that's how things work. You are one. Whatever happens to them, if they bleed, you bleed.
Maybe Javi is like Balder, the most beloved or something. Um,
Okay.
hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
as well versed on Norse mythology, unfortunately. I try, but I'm just not. I'm just not. Um,
I
but
like the color.
I can see it. I can see it there. Okay, so one thing we should definitely talk about is Natalie. Well, all in general in the teen timeline there was like some very specific fashion choices made. So a few of them that we're going to talk about is going to be Nat in her wilderness armor as the judge, and let me just fix this. Okay. She is wearing her full armor of the wilderness, and I just think that that is so important. Um, that's obviously a biblical reference, the full armor of God, where there's like different pieces that hold different powers and that kind of thing. So I really feel like we're doing a nod to that with everything that she was wearing here. We had the white robe. Obviously, we just have like a full antler queen reveal moment going on, which was really cool. She's wearing the antler crown, and even her like bandana that she's wearing on her head. I feel like that's kind of a relevant piece to Natalie specifically, and the way that it's sort of kind of ripped pieces of fabric that have been sewn together. There's just like little pieces that are brought together. So I feel like it is kind of an important, almost like it's reminiscent of like Gawain's green belt or something like that. There's just power like sewn into it. Um, and then yeah, her white robe, which was very beautiful, and I guess we're assuming it's all made out of parachutes that were potentially on the plane. But yeah, still very good. And then, underneath, she's just wearing like her red shirt, which is symbolic of being maybe, a potential sacrificial victim. And so as the trial is going, she's kind of taking pieces off. And it's even before Mari even speaks, she takes off the antler crown. And I thought that was really significant because immediately she's kind of taking off these powerful pieces, because the more that she's in the full armor of the wilderness, the more power she has. It's even just in that appearance of her. There's power in just the appearance of power. And so she comes out and she looks amazing and powerful and authoritative, and like the queen that she has been named to be. But before the trial even begins, she's already taken off the antlers, which are very protective, protective pieces, don't come for her head kind of thing. So and then once Ty calls her up to the stand, I felt like it was so like there was a mocking tone to Taissa when she was asking her to take off the robe. And then she says, when she says, "Your Honor," and she says, "You can just call me Nat," and she's like, "Okay, Nat." Like she was just very mocking of Natalie. And so again, going back to this idea of like who burned the cabin down, I personally think it was Ty in her alter state. And so the way that she mocks Natalie just felt like icing on the cake for that for me. Um, and also the fact that by being the prosecutor, she's she's not a person that's going to be questioned on the stand. So it's again an evasive like move on her part to evade even being a person of question. So there's a lot to it, but anyhow,
Okay.
Mandy, did
So
you have thoughts?
yeah, is my mic better? Because a lot of my Jordan sounded underwater. Is this better? Can someone tell me? I'm getting a new microphone this week. I've been broke, so please, I'm sorry, y'all. This is so unprofessional, but it's my fault, not Aaron's.
Let me see.
But does this sound better? Can someone answer, please?
Um, I don't know. You sound okay to me, but
Well, okay, so I'm just using my computer on it, but I'm hoping to get rid of the echoing by wearing the headphones.
no, just stick with
So,
it. I think you sound good because
well,
when you're just using the laptop like last week, it's too echoey. So let's just stick with it the way that it is. I think it sounds okay. I mean, at
Well, I
least you guys
switched it
are,
already, so.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. All right.
But yeah, so Mandy, did you have thoughts about the full armor of the wilderness? I had a feeling you might.
Yeah, it was nice. I like this comment. Here how she was like going down to she's realizing she's just one of them, and when you put on the full armor, you're supposed to wear it all the time, and it has a lot of symbolical, just underwater. Well, please bear with me. We are underwater. We are literally still in the caves over here.
We all live
So
underground in virtual
thank
insanity.
you. uh, Next week, I promise I'll be more better. I get my paycheck, so don't worry. I've been broke. Um, Speaking of which, if you want to apply to the Patreon page, now's a good time to promote that. um, so yeah, I this armor thing, and a lot with all of the things. Uh, she she doesn't want it. She's willing to cast her crown to whoever. And when Taissa makes that kind of power push, she's willing to just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this off. I'm not going to come here as your queen. But in the chair, when Taissa's pushing too much, she's quick to say, I am both, the judge and a witness. So don't, or what she says, she says, well, you know what I'm talking about, the scene where
Yeah.
she's literally saying, like, I'm both a like, so don't push it. But she does, modestly and humbly want to save and do what's best for everyone. And I just felt like such, I don't know, it was a beautiful scene. I love a beautiful character resemblance, and I love how they put like this table there and the chair, and like it's kind of a prayer room type thing, and also like the covenant type thing, Ark of the Covenant type thing. Um, yeah, it was beautiful. Somebody mentioned about Lottie's dress, but we'll talk about that later on when we get
Yeah, I do
off
have some
too. So
thoughts.
then,
I wanted to talk about Shauna's shirt that she wears, because when they walk back um to the
Jackie's
camp,
shirt,
she's wearing Jackie's her uh
butterfly.
butterfly shirt, yeah, which she has just been like living in, and it's filthy and disgusting, but she goes and before the trial and changes into this different shirt. And what I noticed about this shirt, and tell me if you guys also noticed this, that it has like lactation stains on it from her, probably after, after you give birth, like your milk comes in automatically. And so she probably had to kind of deal with the flow kind of going through that for a little while. So her shirt is actually stained. And we see that during the trial, like there's a lot of emphasis placed on Coach Ben's um lack of response to what she went through when she was giving birth. And him just saying, I just pressed play on a DVD or what have you. Um, so I think that Shauna is holding a lot of resentment, and maybe she didn't even realize it until that moment when Taissa kind of calls her out or kind of presses her, and she's like, "Didn't he help you when you were giving birth or what have you?" And so that really strikes a nerve with her that maybe she hadn't even considered before, like how much resentment she's holding on towards him. But once she kind of had that button pushed, it was like, yeah, this is happening. We're going for him. He's not, getting away with this. And so, and you really see her, especially after being kind of prodded at by Misty, and Misty suggesting that it was her. And Misty didn't even so much bring up the birth situation, but she was more bringing it up with Shauna's sort of aggressive power plays or what have you, or desire for leadership after everything that she's given up, and nobody even considered her, or the wilderness didn't even consider her or what have you. So she already was, kind of being pressured, having it suggested, but then as soon as Ty came in for the kill by suggesting that, and then it was over. She's just enraged. At Coach, and her rage is very powerful. So,
Oh,
but
it's not
I thought
even.
the shirt was like such a perfect
Yeah,
touch for it.
Well, also, that's a good. I never even noticed it, so that I love that you pointed this out because it was the whole metamorphosis thing. Can we change? Should she change after this dream, after this vision of her dying? You would think, but no, it made her run scared back to an animalistic nature. And this is her butcher shirt. This is she's
Mhm.
ready out for the kill. She wants them to take it to where it is. Can you adjust our boxes, by any chance?
What's that?
Are we able to adjust our boxes upwards? Oh yeah. Oh, can I do that or no? Oh, anyway, so they're trying to do the kill, and she just doesn't care. She's out for that pain. I don't even think she realizes what she's doing. I don't think she's actually eventually trying to do it. She just wants to be acknowledged, but she won't even. The reason she's not acknowledging it, or she's not acknowledging herself. She's not acknowledging the pain herself. She's not acknowledging what Misty calls her out on. She denies it because she's in self denial. Period. All around the board.
Mhm.
Never mind if the whole reason she's knocked up, and I mean, for granted, she should have never have gone through that. But like, karma for sleeping with Jeff and doing all the stuff that you did to get that way. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not saying that like please don't take that the wrong way. I don't mean it anyway. No one should ever have to lose their child in any way, shape, or form, whatever. But people do need to take responsibility, and he didn't do it. But why is it? It's not Coach Ben's responsibility for that situation.
Yeah.
She needs to understand that she, as a mother, that's part of motherhood. That's part of us. What we have to do is a natural order and a natural thing. And she did not want to take responsibility as this is nature. So finding a blame for nature, it's like, why does this thing happen? Why do hurricanes happen? Why does stuff happen? It
Yeah.
happens to us all, whether we're ready or not. But like how we take it and transform it, like the metamorphosis. How are we
Mhm.
going to be animalistic about it, or are we going to take this and transform it for a higher reason? And like Van did, Van justifying Javi's death, and it's better because you know what? I'm still alive, which also we see here. Her fear, I'm still alive. That's why I'm going to throw Coach Ben to the fire right now because she got thrown to the fire coincidentally by Shauna, coincidentally in her dream. You know, so this is kind of
Mhm.
has a bigger round circle, like the carriage circle in the park. So it's
Yeah,
kind
she
of it's a lot, but it's you can't do it. The record. I think the main thing we need to recognize is that she's just blame shifting and not
yeah.
taking any responsibility anywhere down the road. It's not like you didn't have all this time to prep for it. She just kept ignoring it. She just said, "My baby, I'm gonna do it," but she wasn't prepping for it. Everyone around her was prepping for the baby, or reminding her. Or Jackie was trying to
Mhm.
prep for the baby more than she was trying to prep for her own baby.
Mhm.
So it's very traumatizing. There's no right or wrong here. There's all these maybes there with her as well. And instead of her accepting and their inner dialoguing and inner working out that childhood trauma, working out the trauma, like same with Coach Ben saying, hey, I didn't work out my trauma. I ended up just like my parents. I ended up just doing the same thing. Shauna ending up just like how she figured Jackie was going to be. She's trying to take Jackie's life. Like, she's not working out what I can do to be better. And
Yeah.
here Van is kind of going descending it. So I'm gonna end on that, but I do have one question. So this sash thing, I wonder which girls were wearing it, which ones were. Like the ones who were about truth and justice, more
Well,
say?
that's the good question. So it was Van, Ty, and Misty who were wearing the sashes, and then Nat had on her wilderness, judge armor, wilderness justice armor. And so it's kind of a split. And I was thinking, obviously we've talked so much about the Oresteia as being a big inspiration for this, which that's the story of Orestes. It's kind of a secondary story to the Iliad. Um, and so in the Oresteia, we have the Eumenides, which are this trio of goddesses of justice who come from the underworld. They're also called the Erinyes, and or the Furies, and they they're vengeful goddesses. They're frightening and scary. They come from the underworld and they seek justice. And so a huge part of the Oresteia is when basically Orestes is the son of Agamemnon. And so after the war in Troy, Agamemnon returns to Argos. His wife, she is very angry with him because he sacrificed their daughter Iphigenia to gain favorable winds for his ships to go to war. And so, of course, his wife has been stewing back at home, angry with him for the last decade. When he returns, she, of course, murders him. And then her children are very angry with her. And so they seek justice by murdering her. Her son, Orestes, he murders her. And there's a lot more details besides this. I'm giving you the quick version. But afterwards, and this is something that he did at the direction of Apollo told him, you need to seek justice for your father being killed. And so he kills his mother, and then he's being hounded by the Eumenides. They're haunting him and they are trying to seek justice. And so he goes to the temple of Apollo, where the oracle tells him to go to Athens and go to the temple of Athena. And when he gets there, the Eumenides are following him the whole way, and they're, shrieking and they're frightening and all this stuff. He gets to what's happening? Oh, having an issue on Twitter, so I don't know what's going on there. I apologize. I don't know what to say here. Okay. So I don't know if it just cut us off on Twitter, but if it did, I apologize. We might have been. Okay. Anyhow, so sorry. So when he gets to Athens, Athena says, okay, and Apollo comes along with him or follows him there. And Athena's like, okay, look, we have to do this the right way. We have to have a trial, just like Nat says. And so they do this trial, and the Eumenides are like these angry goddesses, and they're like, Orestes is guilty. We deserve him. We deserve to have justice over him. And Athena, this is basically the origin of the Athenian justice system, judicial system. And so they go from sort of this wilderness justice where they're actually like just throwing people off of a rock to kind of punish them, like a cliff, and just sort of wilderness justice type things where they're kind of just not there's no lawfare involved. It's kind of just a wild area. God, stop giving me this pop-up, Twitter. Okay, sorry. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if we're streaming still on Twitter. It just keeps giving me a pop-up and distracting me.
I didn't even know that we were streaming on Twitter.
I don't know what's happening. Anyways,
probably something I said.
I don't know. So eventually the trial happens, and after that, and Orestes is found like kind of not guilty, but but the Eumenides are therefore transformed into like these vengeful goddesses, into goddesses of justice, to where they are a part of the sort of judicial system or a recognized aspect of it. And they're like their focus of study, rather than practicing land use, they practiced familial justice. And we have a lot of these themes here with Coach Ben and with all of the girls, with like this generational trauma that they carry. Obviously, Coach Ben, he dealt with that, and he has been dealing with that in his life as an adult, and obviously he considers himself to be an underdog. We have like his issues with his parents, and he's a gay man, and this was kind of a time where that was a little bit of a choice. So there's a lot to it. But anyhow, we have themes of that. We also have themes actually of and we might get more into this in the next episode of Orpheus. And this is something we talked about when we did our huge Greek iceberg live stream, that there are some vibes of Orpheus going on with Coach Ben. Now, Orpheus was like this sort of human man who made like beautiful music, and therefore he was beloved by Dionysus because Dionysus is the god of wine and of, sort of good times, and obviously music is kind of goes along with that. So anyhow, Orpheus makes a descent into the underworld because his wife is killed, and so her soul descends to the underworld where Orpheus is given an opportunity to go into the underworld and get her back. But the deal that he makes with Hades is he doesn't turn around. Okay, she's going to follow you out of there, but don't turn around and say anything. Or, I mean, look back at her. We're not doing, sorry. Damn it. Let's not do this. Okay. Let me fix this. Let me choose a better photo. Okay. Sorry. So Orpheus, he makes the deal with Hades that he can actually makes the deal with Persephone, because Persephone, he goes to the underworld, he plays this beautiful music, and Persephone is like, he's just making this beautiful music. Can't we just give him his wife back? And so Hades says, fine. She will follow you out of the underworld, but do not turn around, do not look back at her. And uh you have to trust that she's behind you. And so he makes his ascent out of the underworld, but just as they're like approaching the mouth of it, he can see it, he's just feeling like paranoid because he knows he's not going to get another chance. He has to make sure that his wife is back there behind him. So he makes the choice to turn around and look, and she was back there, but because he broke that deal with Hades, then she was bound to the underworld. She was stuck there. So after he ascends from the underworld, he is very heartbroken over the whole situation. And he actually decides that he doesn't want to keep Dionysus as his patron god anymore. So he actually changes and starts to follow Apollo. And now this is really major themes with like things that are going on in Yellowjackets, and in my opinion with like the symbol and everything. Obviously with the symbol we have like the circle above, which seems to me kind of like the sun, and then we have the hook below, which is sort of like the underworld. Mandy, we should let's just stop it, okay? It's too much. um so like, yeah, we have a lot going on with the kind of ascent to the light. Apollo, he was fearful of the underworld. He wouldn't make an ascent into the underworld. Dionysus is kind of like the opposite, okay? Dionysus kind of comes from the underworld, and he's like a product of death and fermentation and kind of different things. We've definitely talked about this a lot in our past live streams. But uh yeah, so there's kind of hints to both of these myths going on um with Coach Ben, and he's kind of got nods to both of these characters, whether to Orpheus or to Orestes. And even if we want to bring another O into it, we talked about him having connections to Odysseus as well, and he's sort of on his pilgrimage, on his Odyssey. His wife Penelope, as we have referred to him. So yeah, there are just there's like a lot of Greek mythology that's been tying in and leading up to this episode and sort of inspiring it. And the thing with Orpheus at the end of the day, because he switches from Dionysus, who Dionysus's followers are the Maenads, the sort of Maenadic women. They are sort of zealous with their love for their god Dionysus, and they have been known to roam through the hillsides and rip cows and even humans to shreds and cannibalize their bodies and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so when Orpheus betrays Dionysus, as they view it, he turns from Dionysus to Apollo. The Maenads are very angry and they punish him for it. And yeah, they rip him apart limb from limb, and all of this. And so what's interesting is, have you guys seen the trailer for the next episode? I don't want to spoil anyone, but I do want to just throw something out there from the trailer for the next episode. So if you don't want to hear it, then just plug your ears for just about 30 seconds. Okay, you've been warned. So, okay. In the trailer for the next episode, we hear Shauna talking about how they want to burn Coach Ben. He wanted to burn us. Let's give him to the fire or something of that nature. So I feel like there's a lot of connections here with Orpheus again because he goes from Dionysus to Apollo, Apollo being the sun god. And so the burning symbolism, the sun symbolism, it's all kind of paralleled and connected. And I don't want to see it. Trust me, I do not want to see this happen. But I kind of feel like we're working towards like getting to this point where we just like actually kind of hate the girls, like the Yellowjackets, where like holy crap, like they are terrifying, they are dangerous, like we're not actually meant to like them. Um we're just, we're meant to watch we're meant to watch the journey. Um of course we all have our favorites and our people that we're connected to and we love and all of this, but yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we're working towards that to where we're going to be like actually like these are terrible people and they should die. So okay. That's your mythology lesson for the episode. Mandy, do you have anything you want to add? Because I know that it was a shout out.
They love it. They love it. Okay.
Credit where credit is due. Mandy is the one who has actually, she was the one that caught the Orpheus vibes way back when, and
like a long, long time ago.
When he was at the cliff.
Yeah.
And there was another thing I wanted to give you credit for. There was
maybe. Look, it doesn't matter. Everything, like, I won't take any credit. Like, I think we come up with a lot of these things. I wouldn't come up with them without you.
Oh, it's in the adult timeline. No, I will. I am going to give you credit for it. But
the rope thing, this rope thing is going to be a thing. And I think it might be my first video. I don't know. I'm really feeling it. Especially because Ty gives, or Van pays Ty, the underworld god, or like the demon that brings them all back to the underworld. I feel like she's Anubis. Like, she's like literally the dog. And like, but she pays Ty with a tied rope pretzel. So we'll talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of the payment to the underworld, and it's split into two, by the way, the $10. 1 shekel equals $10. You know.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, thank you. I was just doing this. Yeah, it is a lot much, but like I just was feeling it, and why not?
Well, so speaking of costume changes, let's talk about Lottie's red dress. Because I feel like, and this is our segue into the adult timeline, because I think that there's something really important that we should point out. Now, back in season 2, we see Lottie wearing a red dress a couple of times, and these are when she is doing like her sacrifice or kind of calling in the wilderness. Hold on, I have some notes about this. Where did they go? Anyhow, okay, so when they do the ceremony, when they're at her cult or her wellness center, and they're doing the ceremony where they're wearing the white robes, which I've brought up a couple of times during season 3 because it's reminiscent of them wearing the white robes. And so I kind of felt like looking back in season 2 when they have that ceremony at Lottie's wellness center was kind of foreshadowing to a lot of the things we're going to see in the wilderness and like with their rituals and that kind of thing. But during that ceremony, when they're burying the guy in the ground, she's wearing a red dress and she has her white robe over it. And then later when she goes out and she cuts her hand, and she at the stump, this is in the adult timeline, she cuts her hand and she's like, can't this be enough? She's dripping blood on it and what have you. This is after she sees the vision of like the bees and all of that. So she's wearing a red dress during those 2 times. So what do we know? She wears the red dress when we're doing like a sacrifice or sort of sacrificial symbolism. Now here during the trial, she's wearing her red dress. So, and with the way that Lottie ends up changing her vote in the end, which she kind of perceives like the wilderness kind of guiding her or what have you, also could just like be some sort of subconscious fear of Shauna, who beat the crap out of her in the last season or what have you, but we'll just, yeah. But she ends up switching her vote. And so I think that the red dress is really relevant. Now, who else has a red dress? Who got a red dress in episode 3?
Jackie and Shauna.
It was Callie. Oh,
Callie.
Jackie
Callie
and
too.
Shauna, but no, Callie and
this season episode.
Yeah. So, I think this is important. I think we need to keep this in our minds. Who has a sacrificial red dress? Callie. Who just died at the end of this episode? Lottie.
Kyle has a red dress too. Yes. Everybody needs to know.
Speaking of Shauna in a red dress, did anyone watch the Oscars last night? Because Melanie Lynskey showed up in a red dress and she looked amazing. I'm pretending she did that for us, guys. That was a Shauna nod. Anyhow, all right. So that's about that for the teen timeline. We need to wrap it up with these guys, but
I want to talk about this. This was really nice comment that I think ties it into is that Jesus went to hell to descended into it. So Coach Ben was already in hell, living in a cave with birds and bats and eating he was in jail. And then he goes and descends even further to rise again to save the souls of the ones that condemned him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some sacrificial lamb Christ symbolism. And, we've had this Christ symbolism with other characters, like with Lisa, with Javi. There's some Christ-like symbolism going on with these guys. And so for it to now fall on Coach Ben, I think is pretty relevant. But I also think that there's something with Mary, there's something there.
So I thought about randomly last night. I was vacuuming and I'm like, Mari. And I'm like, it's not, Mary, but I want to go deeper. And I was like, he saved Mari with a rope. He threw her the rope, which spiritually is like, saving her from hell. Mari could have been at, didn't she mess around with her cousin and stuff, like incest? I don't know. There's a lot to Mari that is bad. But she could be the Mariana Trench. She could be the deepest part.
Interesting. Or a dividing trench of the groups.
Or the divider between or she's the divider between Coach Ben's hell or life or death, like hell, going into hell or staying afloat or barely, so it is interesting, yeah. The Mariana Trench. Let's go there. Any comment ideas, anything in chat, let's ponder this and let it sink in for the rest of the season. Because the dripping in the water, it makes sense. Yeah.
Beautiful. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the adult timeline. So basically wrapping it up, Coach Ben, they find him guilty upon jury intimidation, a miscarriage of justice carried out by Shauna, which is very ironic indeed. But so I am grateful that we had the trial in one episode and then the sentencing in another episode, because I don't know if I could take it all in one. That would just be too much.
Lottie's death. I just did not, guys, I usually watch it 8 times before I podcast, right? And Lottie dying and how she did, I'm like, okay, well, here's all of our answers. Where's those underground tunnels? New York City. But where liberty happens, right? But anyway, it's still just the reminiscence. She was actually, this whole time, she was seeing her death. So proving that she's a seer, she can foresee things. But beyond that, now it's kind of tying into all these other, are they seeing their death? Or Van saw the death she should have had, which kind of she was brought back for a reason. I think Van has more power. She's a vanguard more than we know. But also Lottie dying, I could not rewatch the episode again until I only watched it first and then second today. I could not rewatch it because I was so devastated. I was freaking mad and I was angry. And I was a lot of things. I'm trying to emotionally intelligence-wise through this narcissistic rage, but it triggered me very much. But this right here is what saved it, is this outfit, because you knew that she was ready to be the prey. She put on it, she gave her dress to Callie. She gave her Callie's gonna be the seer. She's been seeing things the whole time. She's been calling her mom out for what it was since episode 1. Callie's been saying the truth, and then she during the sleepover, during everything, Callie's like the voice of truth now. And Lottie is now passing on the mantle, which is that red dress, possibly the coat, and possibly I think she's gonna give Callie all the bank account.
That's what I think also.
But she's ready for slaughter.
Yeah, we see Lottie, so she's at the bank, and when she's walking out, the guy says, "Thank you for banking with us," which is like a very normal statement, but it could also be like, "Thank you for banking with us," like, "We'll see you again never," kind of thing. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, and I definitely agree. I think that she made Callie the beneficiary on her account. Because
this is a rabbit coat too.
What's that?
This is a rabbit coat. What?
Ooh. And it looks just like her wilderness jacket that she wore all throughout season 2. She's not really wearing it now because it's the middle of summer, but
salty. I love it.
Hilarious. Lottie's so salty that she died just to F with Shauna.
I really do think, though, that this is going to play into part, and Lottie is sacrificing herself. And I was thinking, it's so funny because before this episode, I was like, we haven't had a suicide or a sacrifice yet. Like, we haven't. And we tried to blame it, but I'm like, I'm surprised we have not. And by the way, like, let's just, throw out the suicide hotline number. It's nothing to joke with. If you ever feel that way, please make a phone call. Please just say something. It's common and just like, it's very something I want to point out mental health wise. It's very big and I take it very seriously. But I don't, this also, I believe she was just ready to go because she had nothing in her end. And then he asked her, "Do you want a car? Can we get you a car? A mode of transportation?" Like in the adult timeline where Van walks the path. They don't have their own car. Shauna's car, there's no brakes. It's getting fixed. They're having to do like the transportation, the mode is the rope or like, you know what I mean? Like let's look there's a bigger picture behind this. And with her wanting to just walk the path, she's not needing a car. Like that's part of the ritual.
Well, and I think that there was something, okay, so we talked about in the first episode when Ty and Van are at the restaurant and they have the reverse hunt. I think that we have something like that going on here also because, while like right after she comes out of the bank, Lottie gets a phone call. It's Taissa. And of course, Taissa's like, yeah, like she's just a complete disregarding narcissistic. Anyways, but but so she calls Lottie and she's trying to find out information about what Lottie had said the night that Natalie had died, where she said the wilderness is pleased with with our sacrifice and you'll see. And she looks at Van and now we have like Ty and Van are kind of operating under this belief that the wilderness is their sacrifice being recognized by the wilderness. And it's so ironic of Taissa, of all people, who's been a complete like wilderness denier all this time, to now suddenly be like absolutely like zealous for the whole thing. But she calls Lottie and she asks her, "Oh, what's that?"
I think hypocritical is the better word than ironic. But yeah, no, totally. It's because she's doing it for selfish reasons. She wants, it's all selfish. It has nothing to do with Van. It has to deal with her. I mean, she loves Van, yes, but like she's not respecting Van's wishes at all. Like she's pushing Van out of her comfort zone.
I agree. And, it's like, she's trying to manipulate the wilderness, which is not like, if they know anything about the wilderness, that's a really dangerous game anyways, and like not something that you can really do. The wilderness chooses. But and Lottie knows that. But like so it's just really interesting to see Ty being the one who's really like going over the top for it now. But she calls Lottie and Lottie's standing there at that street corner at, I think it's called Bedford Street. and there's construction going on over there. There's a bunch of jackhammering going on over there. So, and Taissa is like, where are you? Where are you, Lottie? And she's asking her where she is. And then Lottie like kind of has this like little sassy look and she hangs up on her. But she knows Ty has heard the sound of the jackhammers and all of that. So now it's a matter of like, there's a lot going on here, but people like just should jump ahead. People are really theorizing that there are that one of the Yellowjackets might be behind Lottie's death. We have a murder mystery on our hands. Like that there's the chance that this wasn't just an accident or Lottie falling down the steps or something like that. There's concern that there's something else much more nefarious going on. And we have these kind of lapses in time of knowing where certain people are. So we have this moment of Taissa going into the city to supposedly arrange, her and Van's horse ride, horse-drawn carriage and the pretzel situation. Those two are apart. So that's time unaccounted for on their part. We have Shauna, who supposedly goes into the city to go get a cat. Of all things, very random. She goes to get this cat because they're trying to, get good points with Jeff or with Jeff's idea of karmic energy or what have you. And then but then also Callie, we don't know where Callie's been. Also, she is she didn't go to do volunteer work with the rest of them, so we don't really know what she's been up to. She's suspended from school, so who knows? She could be doing anything. And then also Misty left work early. So, and we don't know exactly where she went.
But so this is
Walter,
just
we don't even know where Walter is. Walter's been doing God knows what for the last, few days. So there's
Walter
like a lot.
Is Walter in with Jeff? Remember, Walter and Jeff become friends. They become mates. So Walter and Jeff will be in it together. And then Randy's there too.
Jeff was at the nursing home the whole time because he comes home afterwards and he says, why did you leave me there or what have you?
But while she's locked into the closet, because maybe Jeff is like trying to protect Shauna and from this because maybe Jeff locked her in the closet to say like, oh, she was locked in the closet the whole time during the time of death while Walter is there. Walter left the note. Like, because Misty is like sees, and she goes back and she sees that, so she's going to find Walter. But I feel like Walter is mad. Walter has motive too to like go and be mad for everything that happened with Misty and changing his perfect Misty because Walter's crazy like that too. And so Jeff is in cohorts with Walter, probably Walter blackmailing Jeff, and then Jeff has to include Randy, best friend. So now they're all going back, and this is why he's so into like we have to have karma for this because I know I'm doing something wrong and I'm trying to cancel it.
Randy.
I mean, it could happen. That makes sense.
I don't think that's what happened at all. Jeff is the only one who do have time accounted for. He was at the place.
Yes, but he could be.
We do
covering
know
for Walter.
Okay? No. The rest of them,
covering for Walter.
I'm not going to get onto the what ifs with Jeff because we know where Jeff was. So I just am not even going to play that game. The rest of them,
no, it's not about Jeff.
They were. And so there's reason. And Jeff, I do think Jeff is actually a normal guy. So he wants to balance the karmic scales. That's why he's actually genuine in his efforts to go and do this stuff. And yeah, of course, he's hanging out with his best buddy. But you know what? When he's in
Walter is blackmailing them. I'm not saying it's Jeff's fault. I'm saying that Walter could be the one blackmailing them into a bigger picture. Like, you're not hearing it right.
Maybe, but like Jeff doesn't seem to know anything. So who knows? I mean, maybe, but and yes, Walter, if anyone, would be like a manipulating type person, and especially because he literally texted Misty like, oh my God, hold on, let me look at something because maybe we have a timestamp on this photo. Because
that's what I'm trying to say is like Walter has. Misty wanted to break up for his friends, so he wants to like probably rid him of her friends or blaming other people. But also like Callie though, like Callie could have been on the same side. Callie could have been really like a follower of Lottie's now, or it could have been any one of her cult following. So this is the whole point I was trying to make with all this stuff, though, is also it's all of a maybe. It may be. It could have. Who burnt the house down? Who killed? So, it maybe. here.
Let me pull this up because maybe we can maybe we can see the timestamp, which I can't see it on my screen, but hold on. Let me pull this up. Okay.
Citizen detectives, let's go. Here we are.
Hot dogger 40 minutes ago. 40 minutes. Okay. So 40 minutes before, like this was posted 40 minutes prior, and then Misty gets on her computer, and then the text from Walter comes in at the exact same moment. So Walter, I mean, definitely. I'm so not discounting him being involved in some way, shape, or form. I do think it's a little bit interesting that he would like if he were behind this somehow, like that he would choose Lottie because um like Shauna and Taissa have been so mean to Misty, and he's been the one that's like calling her out about that. He's like, why are you even like putting up with these, women? And that's what's kind of caused the rift between them. So I definitely could see him being some sort of having this, or even being hot dogger, that could be Walter. And he's like immediately following up. But I do think it's interesting. The second she opens her laptop is the second she gets the text from him. And so it makes you wonder, like, is he like outside her house kind of watching, what's going on or what have you, keeping an eye on her,
that?
or got cameras in the house? I mean, he is a citizen detective.
He probably posted this, and he could be in the area, or like
Hot dogger.
I just feel like Jeff not feeling comfortable about Lottie being there and they're just trying to stop them from hurting themselves. The men trying to take control.
I just don't see Jeff, like, I honestly think that Jeff is just like a kind-hearted person. Like, I just don't see him having nefarious purposes. And I also don't really think that he, like, I mean, especially after the blackmail situation back in season 1, he was the blackmailer. And so that was like about max nefarious Jeff purposes, because he's actually just not really a smart guy. Like, he's just
I agree with you.
Yeah, like, I just think he's kind of himbo-ish. And, when we see him in this moment with the, like, the old people, and he's doing the bingo thing, which, by the way, the bingo thing was totally It Chooses. Like, that was like it in action. But he, he's really in his element. He's there. He's entertaining the old people. Chicken nugget department. Like, he is that guy. He is just like a himbo. He's just like a nice, normal guy that happened to get mixed up with like the most insane person on the face of the earth.
But that's the point, is he'll cover it. And look at what he did when he got mixed up with the mafia trading in the money before. He started acting that way. And now he's mixed up with crazy ass Walter, and now he could be doing this. And they're mixed up in murder scenes. They're mixed up in all this stuff, and he's trying to protect Callie. He's trying to protect his wife. That's why he made sure that they were there. I bet he locked her in there, and he made sure that they had alibis with Randy present as well. Because he might have known what was happening, but I don't think he did it. Like, he's not in the cold. He's a pawn in the situation.
Yeah, it's an interest. Yeah, I mean, he's an
he's covered. He loves Shauna. He loves Shauna, and he covers for her. And someone wrote like, oh, he saw all what she did in the journals, and he still like stayed. Like that's what they do. But that's also his identity. So he's trying to. It's a lot. This show's a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised. And I did not think Lot was gonna die. In fact, Lot come alive today, didn't she?
Oh, this is a really great catch. I didn't actually pick up on this, but nobody has mentioned Jeff asking Randy for a deck of cards when they asked him to get snacks. Interesting.
Food. So that's part, I think, of this ritual is food, doing a walk, like Van doing the walk for food, and then the cards, and how they were chasing and walking during the card. You have to do some sort of on-foot passage path. So not the night train. It isn't Ozzy on a night train. It's got to be something to do with that, and you got to pay for the food in some way or another. And then think about it: paper, money, it's trees. are we upsetting the wilderness? Are the Ints upset because we cut down their trees and made money out of it, and now we're paying it the dead bodies and souls of the trees for food? I mean, come on, it's a stretch, but like literally that went through my mind when Van's shaking and she's paying for the twisted rope pretzel.
Mhm.
So there's so
Interesting.
much symbolism. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's there's a lot, and it's all tied up together. Um, yeah, and for the record, I really like if Lottie has died, then I need to see Lisa coming back into the picture. And Lisa might even be somehow interwoven into this because we know she got the call of the wild. She's got the wilderness in her. So, but I miss Lisa and I really need to see her come back because I really loved her character. So, and I just know that like if she heard this about Charlotte, she loved her so much. She was almost like a mother figure to her, that she is going to come back and want to know what happened to her, try and figure it out. And so, wouldn't it be ironic to see her and Misty kind of buddy up, especially with how Lisa kind of had that relationship with Natalie, that bond with Natalie. And so, for her to come in and then, kind of buddy up with Misty, because Misty seems, from what we've seen in the trailers, Misty seems to be that's going to be like her trajectory for the rest of the season is I'm going to figure out
Yeah.
what happened here. And she's wearing Nat's jacket and all this kind of stuff. So I really hope that we can see some Lisa Misty moments or just Lisa in general because I love her.
I think also though, remember Walter is good at preying on people who are vulnerable in that state. So, bringing Lisa back in and Misty, Lisa, and Walter. There's a lot of triangulation going on this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I still think that Lisa might be this like altered spiritual state. Like how there are movies about like kids, people, and then they meet their childhood self, or
Mm-hmm.
they're meeting their teen self that they never had to do. Like I feel like Lisa. Sorry, I feel like Lisa's one of those people that could be like that embodied spiritual time self that they didn't get to be as a teenager and the things that they didn't get to learn. And it's kind of like a shared conscious collection of their like projected self-ideal image or what they should be. Like or Crystal. I really feel like she also is like some sort of imaginary character. I do honestly believe it.
I know you
Or
think
if
that
they don't, they
Crystal.
might not even be imaginary, but they resemble and reflect these parts of childhood trauma wound and childhood trauma healing is when you connect with those parts of the character. And in season 2, when when all of our Yellowjackets characters connected with Lisa in some sort of way, and they all did it separately, they all did it in in their own little space, right? So we never really see her talking to someone else other. Like, and she represented Mad Javi and Jesus vibes as well. But like, I think it was all of this like combination of, because reminder, the girls were all combined and they all kind of became one and they intermeshed. And intermeshing is a thing in psychology and especially narcissistic abuse and childhood trauma, where you intermesh codependency and being codependent, independent. But she kind of became like this character that intermeshes them all and brings out that time that they were missing. Just like how Miss Crystal wasn't like representation of what Misty was missing as a childhood, like the things she could do, the things she can be, the things she's good at. So it's just, I feel like whether she was real or not, that is her goal and purpose. But like if they bring her back and Lisa is like some badass, I don't know, like it would be cool.
Yeah, it would be. I like her a
Or
lot.
she's
She's a great
the
character.
new Lottie. Lisa's the new Lottie, the new
And
guru.
Callie is
Like,
the new Shauna.
no, I feel like Callie might be the new Nat, Jackie Nat. She's more Jackie. I mean, Shauna wants her to be like her, but we'll see, won't we?
So,
I think that it
in the
will
chat,
maybe
they're talking
all of
about
them.
in the chat, they're talking about how Travis died and how we never really got like the real answer to what happened to Travis. And that, was the one thing that was driving Natalie, was trying to find out exactly what happened to Travis. So we got the story from Lottie that, he was in the throes of his trauma and wanted to try to get in touch with the wilderness, in essence. And so and we saw he and Natalie had done that in the past, where they were using drugs to facilitate a near-death experience so that they could get in touch with the wilderness. And so Travis, he basically he used a device in the barn, a levee or something, and was trying to choke himself, asphyxiate himself to a near-death experience. And then Lottie was there as like his second, and she was supposed to keep him from dying, but unfortunately she got distracted because Laura Lee appeared to her. So anyhow, so she tells the story to Natalie, and Natalie doesn't entirely believe it. So there is a question of if that was real, if that's the real story of what happened to Travis, because I think a lot of us felt like it was not, like it was something else. There was something that Lottie was keeping, and I think we were all kind of hoping that we were going to learn more about that potential, but maybe it's just is like, maybe we are just meant to accept it. Like, yeah, that's actually what happened in his death, in his moment of death. But I do like this idea, going back to the Norse mythology stuff, that the connections that he has, with Odin, and with the tree Yggdrasil, and then his death being, he's a hanged man. And so the hanged man it's a tarot card, or in tarot, but also that is related to Odin, who he hung himself from the tree, and he sacrificed one of his eyes in order to gain knowledge of the runes. And so Travis dying that way, and then also his father dying in the tree, like there's a lot of symbolism that's kind of connecting to that idea. So I think that it was fitting for that to be his death when we consider all of those things, right? So yeah. Okay. So moving on so we had obviously kind of the stuff with Jeff. They're playing bingo. It chooses, it's the balls, could be anyone. And I just think it was really interesting that we had this moment of Shauna in the kitchen. And so they're doing the bingo with all these old people. They're in a retirement facility, or maybe it's even hospice, who knows, but it's old people. So they're like on the verge of death anyways. They're playing bingo, and it chooses Shauna in the freezer. And it was just kind of really interesting. Now, granted, there is a sign on the freezer, and I have a photo of it I opened it the wrong way.
You mean she didn't see the sign? She's too busy singing out, zombing the words, thinking she knows everything. Mm-hmm. And this is the sign.
Yep, it says you are not locked in, and it, kind of gives directions on how to get out of there. And it was funny because in the kitchen, she's listening to the sign by Ace of Base. And also, like, we have this dynamic with Misty where she is like her scapegoat. Like, Shauna is just attacking Misty. And she says, "Oh, should I send you the bill for our van, or should I send it to the mountain where you lay your eggs, or what have you?" I don't know if that was like a dragon comment or like her owl comment.
Shauna haters unite. Like, no, yeah. It made me itch. It made me itch when she did that. Like, it made me so mad because, like, she knew it. And again, like someone said, I think it was Michaela or somebody up there said, Shauna is a victim of her own circumstances, and yet she still never comes out, never tells the truth. And to see dead ass Jackie, which I hope we get dead ass body, by the way. But yes, dead ass Jackie, back to her. I love this so much. Like, come on, Haunter, get her. And yeah, like, it pissed me off because Misty's like, all I want is a freaking apology. And it's impossible if you've ever dealt with someone who's narcissist. That's all you want. And then you'll be like, I totally saw you just doing exactly. No, I didn't. No, I'm not going to apologize. I didn't do anything. No, that's you. You did this. Well, you made me do it, or this and that. It's like blame shifting and never just an apology. It's so simple to do. And then an apology, you know what an apology is? It's the difference between an animal doing things because like, just doing things on the whim and will, and then thinking, okay, you know what? There's a better way to do things. It's yes, it's not about who did, she did what, whatever. It's like this is hurting someone else. Forgiveness isn't for you, it's for the other person. It's about validating the other person. It's about making the other person feel like they are part of you too. She has no regard for anyone but herself. That's why she won't apologize. That's why people don't apologize, because they're like, well, me, and then let me point something bad about you did so that I don't have to apologize. It's a justification, and I'm not a bad person. When really, why don't you just validate how someone else feels? You might not agree with it, but you can come to the terms like, okay, if you felt this way, then I'm sorry, that was not my intention. But instead, it's the way she does it, how she does it, is just terrible, especially after she's been proved wrong the whole time. So now instead of her accepting the fact that she was wrong, like Coach Ben or whatever, or Lottie, apologizing to herself, planning to apologize to whoever, she still can't do that because she'd rather blame someone else than ever say that she did anything wrong. And this is the extreme diagnosis of a real narcissist. This is someone who really has these kinds of mental problems. We all have the tendencies. We all can do stuff. We all have conditioned environments. But this is literally the diagnosis of a psychopath. They don't think that they did anything wrong, or they have justification for everything. Or they're like manic thinking, well, somebody did the brakes. Somebody did this. Someone did that to me. It's someone else's fault. When
paranoia.
Well, you didn't even change your brakes. And since episode 1, and 1,000 ways they've been telling you, and that's what, them brakes. And did Ty do that? We don't know. We're going to find out. But anyway, I got to rant on that.
No, you know what? Mandy deserves credit also. She called the brake thing because she said it was because she has been neglecting him ever since her crash with Adam. And that's so true. Obviously, we see that now. The brake booster, it went bad. And that was the reason she bumped into Adam to begin with. So all of this comes back. It all comes back around to being her fault and her avoidant style of just everything, and using Misty as a scapegoat, which was just really horrific. All things considered, just the way she attacks her. She almost killed her in her van, and yet she can't even take accountability for that. She automatically just accuses Misty. So Misty is just always the scapegoat for everyone, and she is actually the best person. She's
this is just trying to love everyone.
She's not perfect. She protects all of them. She looks after them. She's loyal. She would do anything for any of them. All it would take was one person just ask. She will do anything for any of them. And yeah, so it's just really interesting.
Justice too, though. Jeff is loyal too, and Misty wants just to be loved and be a part of the family, and everyone just because of her weakness. And then on a scale in the wild in your weakness, Misty becomes if you want to compare it to the Lord of the Flies, Misty's Piggy, or with the glasses and things you can't see, and it's just the same things happening now with Jeff. I think it's just Shauna so used to taking power, and instead of giving people power, so she's taking it all, and she's done it in 1,000 little ways like covert narcissists do. They'll take little things, and just how Taissa will take the money and the issues, and Van can't even pay for stuff because she's taking all these ways to make them dependent on her. And it's she can't even say anything, and all anyone is looking for is validation, and instead of just validating the truth, she's making them validate her, or she's attention seeking by attacking hot dog. Ugh.
So Shauna locks herself in the freezer, quote unquote, locks herself in. And
the meat freezer.
the deep
True.
freezer, which we've all been waiting for this moment. We saw this in the trailer. We're like, how is Shauna going into this freezer? And the frozen meat line, that is the crux of Shauna's whole story arc as an adult, is the frozen meat. So she tried to use the frozen meat to get herself out of there, and then Jackie appears to her and basically says, yeah, frozen meat, that's all you are, like, just like me, you're going to be left out, nobody's going to come and find you, and maybe this was the way it was always meant to be. And that's something that I theorized going back a couple weeks ago. We talked about this. I think the frozen meat is well, I actually theorized that Shauna was going to die in the freezer because I felt like that was really appropriate. And I think that Jackie felt the same way. Jackie and I basically, my theory was exactly what Jackie said to her, which was this was how it was always meant to be. And, she really is like, Shauna, I love, like, between Jackie and Misty, they clocked Shauna like so hard. They were just digging into her, just like, oh, this is who you are, like, basically this is who you are. Oh, and Jackie's like, so after I died, did you become all the things that you thought you were going to be? And thinking about it, like, Shauna, she was going to go to Brown, she was going to move to France or whatever, and have the mime boyfriend. She had all these major goals and things, and she felt like Jackie was holding her back because Jackie wanted to go to Rutgers and they were going to be roommates there, and everything was just going to be all what Jackie wanted. And so that's like the whole thing. Shauna is resentful of Jackie because she felt like she was holding her back, when really it was Shauna's own like inability to acknowledge herself, in a sense, or whether her rights, her wrongs, and any of those things. She's just unwilling to, like, speak for herself. And so she felt like she blames Jackie for
Yeah.
her failures in life. But at this point, like, Jackie was so right in this moment where she's like, did you become all the things that you said you were going to be? Because now they're 40, 45 years old, and she's not doing anything impressive. And granted, I mean, it is like, I don't want to discount that because I'm a stay-at-home mom, and it is hard to be a stay-at-home mom. And Shauna seemed happy in that moment when she was in the kitchen, she's making the pudding, and Misty comes in there and she's like, what, don't you hate this? Isn't this what you do with your whole life anyways? And people constantly do that. I will say this in defense of Shauna, people like love to, assume, I mean, I guess it's not always true, but people assume that like stay-at-home moms don't do anything, or it's like some easy job, or even stay-at-home moms themselves sort of discount their own impact on the world because even though you're only impacting your family and taking care of your family, you sort of don't see that on a grand scale the way that maybe Taissa might be portrayed or want to be portrayed. But Shauna was actually happy. She was actually kind of happy in that moment. She's like, fine, I'll make the pudding. That's no big deal. That sounds nice. I can do that. No big deal. And Misty really thought she was like, digging into her or something, but actually, like, Shauna was okay with that. She's okay with who she is. She even told that to Jeff in season 2. I like who I am. I like the way I am. I'm a freak. So what? Take it. Eat my pudding, bitch.
Yeah, I thought it's more of a coping mechanism though too. Like, literally, it is her coping mechanism is cooking and butchering, and that is what she does. But it brings us back to, like, we all play a part on the team. And so instead of like this judgment, which here we are, old Misty wants to stop judging, but new Misty is sitting here giving judgment back, but just for validation. She wants justice, right? But she puts her in a job that she thinks is going to be justice, but instead of recognizing that this is what Shauna does, this is what it is, and then she can do it with her eyes closed. You know what I mean? Just how Misty can do things with her eyes. Like that, they all have their strengths and keys and specialties. They're not validating each other's strengths, keys, and specialties. They're not giving each other the part on the team. Mm-hmm. They're still not working as a team, and it goes where they're finally working as a team to go after a common enemy. And like in the Bible, that's what happened, is like all of the nations and people, the Jews ended up teaming up with the Greeks so that they can get Jesus, found a common hater, a common thread. And unfortunately, Coach Ben started to see that. And no one wants to hear or listen because there's a secret messages for those who have eyes to eyes to see and ears to hear, let them see and hear. That is what we're talking about here. And they don't want to, and they're not seeing the signs. They're not hearing the things people are saying. They're not going there. She's not even listening to Jackie. She's arguing instead of like, hey, I'm right. But what's so great here is that Coach did that. And like Misty's starting to see things, literally, like her wanting to kill it and saying, like, okay, you know what, I gotta step back. But she's seeing and hearing the secret message that's not there. What is that? Come on, there's a bigger picture to that too. For those who have eyes to hear or eyes to see, ears to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much of that intertwined in here. But Shauna's only hearing herself or the voice of dead Jackie because she's burying that traumatic guilt as a child because she's still carrying that guilt around. And Jackie's ringing in her head everything it says. And when you go through PTSD, when you go through people and people hurt you with things, when you hear that, like, somebody once told me, people like you are meant to serve people like me. And I carried that around for 10 years. And I was a server all my life. And I worked my ass off serving to pay for college. And once I got to college, and now I'm here, a stay-at-home mom, right? And it's the hardest job I've ever had. And I've had 4 jobs at once because you're psychologically stuck in your house. You're dealing with it. Your life is not your own. But I'm serving my family. But now when I'm about to go back out for a job, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, maybe I will just get a serving job to be a nice transition back into my actual career base, which is pretty, like, I did fashion shows. I worked in great things and traveled, like when I was doing something without my family. But now it's a different part. But round story, round circle, the point I'm making is for me, Jesus came here to serve. And once I realized that serving is a heart of gold, like King David in the Bible, he had a heart of gold because he chose to serve. And so that kind of round stories into Jackie, and like she wanted to serve what was best for the team. It wasn't always about her. And you can turn, so Shauna, what Misty is looking at is Shauna's weakness is actually her strength. And what weaknesses can be is become your strengths. And your strengths can also become your weaknesses really quick. And that's in a lot of spiritual work, no matter what you believe, okay? So, but what I'm saying, hey, like, a heart of a servant is a beautiful thing. And so for 10 years, I carried around that pain that was like, people like you serve people like me. But like right now, after growing up and realizing what it takes to be a servant and realizing that God wants a servant, I'm like, you know what? That was my blessing in disguise this entire time. Is I am here to serve, and I'm here to serve you guys. I'm here to serve what I have. I'm here to serve the tea. I don't know what it is, but we're here to serve up Yellowjackets, and I'm proud of it. Do not let that be your only distinctive factor. Turn your weakness into your strength. But I did have to let go of that pain, and that childhood pain was a lot because it was very hurtful. Because this person I looked up to, like Misty and Shauna, the relationship, or like what the same things that Nat said to Misty, for example, she's like projecting onto Walter right now. This is the process that happens through all this healing. And so just, round story back to the show. Just, I want y'all to recognize this is a common thread, a common process around the world, around everybody, especially in the media, especially with childhood trauma and all of us healing to become a better collective conscious. So I'm gonna end on that. Mandy monologue.
Beautiful.
I love you guys, and just love and serve one another, and realize that we all have, servants provide a service, but who provides what service? And so if we serve each other, each of us, a service that we're good at, like Erin helps me with the things that I'm lacking, and I could never do it without her. I help her think a little bit more outside the box. So, but it's good, and we build off each other, and that's what it's about. And
the teamwork makes the dream work,
Stars align.
So Taylor 26 here had a great comment. So the end of the episode, there's a message, apparently an embedded message, and there's a lot of those going on because there was some in episode 3, and also in the phone message if you call Ozzy's ice cream. And of course, going back to season 2, if you call Charlotte's Lottie's wellness center, there's a message on there. And actually, we should call them just to see if anything's updated since. Anyways, we'll get to that. But so Taylor 26 had a great comment here. So apparently at the end of the episode, there's a secret message. If you play it backwards, it says, "We are alive. We are born when the stars align." So that's really interesting. I love that because, we've been talking so much about like 2 realities, going back to like Mari when she's in the cave and she's telling Coach kind of her confession about her cousin or what have you. And she says, I think there's 2 realities. And I really think that's something that we're playing with more and more as the series is progressing. We're kind of getting to this, like, what are these 2 realities? No return, no reason. Yeah, and the
I think
stars
it's
aligning is an occult. What did you say?
the wolf concept. Or do you see the half empty, half full? Or it's all the realities are what your world, and then what people perceive you. But you can't change the opinions of others, but you can change yourself and hope to like put it out there to see and to see others instead of like trying to change it. Combine it, adapt it, assimilate it. And it's what's been done all history. And yeah, we do lose our identities sometimes, but to think that you are one identity for your whole life, to think that you don't have these different archetypes we all go through. I think we experience these archetypes to become a better and create more archetypes. When you get stuck with one is when you are dead, is when you're not, changing. You're not being an evolutionary product, which we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting too about like the stars aligning, them saying that, like we've talked about with like the other world and even with the Axis Mundi, where it's the three circles, like we talked about in Celtic tree mythology last week, where it's the 3 like circles. There's like the other world and I can't remember exactly what they call them in the Welsh words, but anyways, it's the 3 circles of existence, and there's basically like, it's like past, present, future, as above, so below, like the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. And so that's interesting. The stars aligning is kind of in that same concept of like the 3 circles of existence in Celtic tree mythology, and even like Norse mythology with their like planes of existence, which again, I'm not super well versed on, but
they all balance each other out, like, which is like what Jeff is doing with the servitude and trying to balance each other out with the goodness and the light. And let's get Jedi up in here, or what Van is trying to do in this episode with, okay, you know what, we've done this before, I've seen this door before, I'm not going in there, I'm not going to choose this, I'm going to choose to live in the other way. And that could have been why Van was shaking as well. I think Jeff giving service to a better thing is like, which wolf are you going to feed? And he's refusing to feed Shauna. Like, Callie's like, bring me a take-home plate this episode too, which I thought was kind of interesting. But look though, the rope. What does it say? Cutlers? Is that cutlers? Pretzels? Like, you cut the tie, you cut the rope, the underworld.
Oh, interesting.
So she's giving her a rope that's cut and twisted, and now they're going to go on a horse carriage. Is it to the underworld? And she had nothing to pay, right?
Oh, so yeah. I know.
It reminds, yeah.
I had a lot of.
It was really. I thought was financial abuse by Ty, because she's really just kind of like making her pet now again, and replacing her with her stay-at-home, her pet wife and her pet, and she has all the money, which I don't even know where she's getting this money from now. Anyway, but
I have my thoughts.
That'll be a theory video. But she's here, and they're standing face to face with the white horse, who brings on, and the pale white horse, the apocalypse and things like that, and the pale white horse of death.
Well, the white horse can be one of two things. It can be like, yeah, a pale mare situation, or we could have a white horse, which is associated with like heroism, like with the hero, or like the person who saves the day. And so that's kind of that idea of like the two realities that we have going on, and especially like in this scene, you know,
I think she's
there.
harnessed though. Like look at how harnessed and like she's pulling, like how Ty pulled her, and
Mhm.
like their whole action of this like being a capped creature. Look at how beautifully capped she is, but she's still a creature that is pulling and that's wild and free. She's
Yeah, Mandy,
hot in
I
the
think
face.
your audio is kind of, you sound quiet all of a sudden. Did you come try and adjust those things for a second? See if it
Yes.
where's the microphone on that? Because it got quiet.
Oh no. Okay.
Maybe try and pull it forward a little. Uh but yeah, no, I like what you're saying, like the ropes, the cutter. Yeah, it is cutters or something like that. So that's interesting. I had never considered the rope thing, and I love how much of it you're finding in here. And with the twisted rope of the pretzels is really clever. I you know, as far as like the kind of narcissism stuff goes, which I see so heavily in Taissa, one of the things I wanted to point out in this scene was that it's Ty who's facilitating this whole thing, but it was Van's dream. You know, it was Van's dream to take Ty to do these things. And Ty is like, "No, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take your dream and I'm gonna like make it happen." And there's something that's sort of manipulative about that. Like everything Taissa is doing is kind of manipulative in this whole episode, or just kind of this whole season, really, where she's trying to manipulate the wilderness and doing it in like such a sloppy way. And then like they'd followed that guy, and you know, I just like, I don't know, that guy just had some weird vibes, like he might be something else, a cop or something. What were you going to say, Mandy?
So okay, so look at this is a cool insight in comment in the context. Um, Army of Heaven, yes, but it also, the white horse of death. Like if you go in the House of Dragon, um, there's also like the pale white horse that comes in the apocalypse of fight near time, but the horse-driven carriage. But like, look at the pretzels are all hanging. They're hanging rope. We're hanging rope,
Yeah.
and uh, and then the fact that like the money was split in two, and that Van was told you have an hour. She did this hour-long walk, take the path and pass. Like I always watch the show with the title subtitles because like we do in my house, like we do Spanish and English, so we watch in subtitles always in different foreign languages and things like that. So I watched it and it said pass specifically, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Aaron listening mysteries. And then we see it again with all the lanterns, the lights, just like how we saw with the chase and when they were going to get Coach Ben from the
Mhm.
underworld. They're descending down the stairs. They're meeting in the circle. Okay, there's a special park that they have, like, Central Park, but like it's so what's happening here is I really think that Taissa, did Ty do it? Why is Taissa and Shauna and they're all there with Lottie, looking for Lottie, trying to blame Lottie. They're all mad at her in New York City. And at the same time, Shauna gets a cat for an hour. Like they're lying to Van. And
Mhm.
they're either setting Van up to be like she's trying to save Van, but I actually don't. I think Van's going to be next because they're trying to manipulate it. But during this process, it took. I don't know. We'll find out if Lottie was like Lottie. I wouldn't say she was a suicide. I would say that she was more of a sacrifice. Um, but we don't know. But I do
Yeah.
think that this whole thing was very ritualistic, where
Mhm.
we're offering the guard dog or offering Anubis, which is kind of
Mhm.
like she's like a dog, she's the wolf, right? So
Well,
she's
yeah, well, and you know, it is interesting, like they
she's
keep Van
covering.
sort of like, remember when they found out about Adam, that the cops had found his body, and they were trying to like lie to Van about that. Like, why did they try to lie to Van and to Misty? It's like something about those two that they're trying to protect or keep out of the dirty
Yeah.
work or something like that.
Well, we talked about the sides. Remember how some were in the light end and some were in the underworld. And Misty and Van are on the side of the light, and Ty and Shauna are both like dark. And I think that they are hiding and lying it. They don't want them to know about it. They didn't want them to know about the almost abortion with the hanger and the anchor. And they didn't want them to know a lot of things.
They
And
keep their secrets.
you know, like Shauna's like, Misty, why would you play truth or dare? Like, why would you play any game? But like, so in our, like, this could, another thought that came in my head, this could potentially be the Flag Tie or the Tree Tie, who is finally taking over Taissa, because once regular Tie invited the wilderness in, now Tree Tie can speak. Now Tree Tie has territorial rights. If Tree Tie is a demon, and she invited the wilderness, and she finally gave into the wilderness with lighting the candle and chanting and doing that. Now, Tree Tie is in her body and can speak through Taissa. Like, that's how demonology works. That's, if you invite that demon in, that demon can come and it can take into your voice and everything. And this is kind of like a trickery, a mockery, like a low-key thing, like low-key, right? It could be low-key, like, vibes, but just to bring her to this new realm. And she's using her vulnerability and weakness because she knows that she messed up, and she's trying to make it look like she's respecting her, but they probably went and killed that other guy. Like, I mean, I would not be surprised.
Maybe. You know, this is kind of what I've been speculating about Ty like the whole time, is that the man with no eyes is some kind of demon or demonic energy that's been like infiltrating her. And then, she's split. It's like the two sides are split in her. But the more that she is accepting, and she believes that she's accepting of like the wilderness, but who knows? It could be the man with no eyes who's like facilitating this gift. Because remember, when the waiter died, and they do the reverse hunt, that's Ty sees the man with no eyes there. So like, and that's kind of one of the things, with demonology, is like they will come to you. And that's even why like Christians, they don't believe you should even practice doing ancestral, like, not just like honoring ancestors. Like, basically when you die, like, that's that. And so, and if you start to mess around with like those spirits, then they could overtake you. And so with Taissa, we can see she is more accepting of that, of the other Ty, her other part, Dark Taissa. They're sort of merging because she's becoming more accepting of Dark Taissa and Dark Taissa's like intentions, which to her, in her mind, she's seeing they are giving, they're curing Van's cancer, and they're giving her this time with Van and all of this kind of stuff. And that may not necessarily be the case. You know, it might not be this like roses and sunshine kind of thing. She might actually be like just letting a demon overtake her. And that's something I've even talked about in my Dark Taissa video, which did have some political overtones, but you know, she is a politician. So I highly recommend you guys check it out. But that's one of the things I speculate is like the man with no eyes, or like a demonic entity, can use you to access power, right? So Taissa, being a senator, the way that she was getting to the highest levels of power, and being a politician. And of course there, you know, is this idea of like Satanism involved in politics and that kind of thing, or some other dark powers. But Taissa was actually becoming like a really fun example of that, and her relationship with the man with no eyes. So I hope that we can kind of return to that, because there was meat to that story. And so now she's kind of like, forget the whole thing. Like, it's like unemployed much. These two are just hanging around during the daytime, like plotting, you know, leaving cards on the ground to see if someone will pick it up. It's like they are so like doing nothing with their time that is responsible. And where does Taissa get this money from? Well, what is she still like tapping into, like her campaign funds, or like, you know what, because you're supposedly disgraced and impeached and all this kind of stuff. the whole like disgraced senator thing is just driving me crazy. I just can't like wrap my mind around it. So I really hope that they're going to kind of bring it all full circle. But yeah, I'm kind of seeing this like connection. Like the more that she's accepting of what she believes is the wilderness's powers, which may not be the wilderness's powers at all. It may be the man with no eyes, who we have seriously speculated could be a demonic kind of entity. So I love this idea that it's sort of merging her personalities the more she's accepting it.
So a few comments on that. First off, Tariq, they had put that the demon Tai has been talking through her teen time. I actually think this is true, and I'm seeing it more now. Now, when she suppressed that, she was the demonic or evil Tai, or that part of her was unable to come through. But the more it came out, the more it's coming out, and it's uncontrollable. Then she just recently invited it in. So now, once you're invited in, they have territorial rights. Once they're invited in, you give them like subjectory, and you have to like, your contract agreement is your contract agreement. And there's like, if you see movies with contracts or like The Hidden Door, or there's other movies that I was thinking about. The blind men they have special sight, but this could be them, her being suppressed, her being able to just take over, and she knows the ritual. She's doing it anyway, but she's keeping it a secret because Void Tai has been a secret. Also, thank you for binge watching our show, and this is a really sweet. Thank you. It makes us feel like we're doing something, or at least me, like something good. But yeah, now I think though she didn't talk before because they weren't aware, and she wasn't welcomed in. But now that this demon is welcome in, let's see what's gonna happen. Because right now the demon only took care of her the demon only came in while Tai was sleeping. It was while she was drunk. Like when she was drunk is when we would see it come out, or and Tai wouldn't remember. But it seems now that she's consciously remembering and consciously aware of what's happening. But what's funny is when she asked Lottie, and Lottie's like, I don't remember even saying that. Like, I don't remember. So that's another interesting thing too. And then Lottie was also wearing a ring, like a signet ring. Was that? I know I agree on it, but was that Coach Martinez's ring?
Oh,
it looked a little like it.
I didn't notice that, but that's really interesting. Hold on, let me see if I have a picture.
It looked a little like it. But it was funny because Tai was like calling in a phone call, and then all of a sudden there's jackhammers and there's distortion. I can't hear you. I'm not sure. And then she just hangs up.
Yep.
So I think it was the fact that like Lottie understood that Tai was not Tai, and she was desperate. And in her desperate measure, this new Tai took over because Lottie's distortion, she's now the prey. Like they've switched positions. Yeah, look at go close.
Zoom in very well. Hold on, let me see if I can.
But I feel like the other one was all gold.
Let me see this.
But there was a lot of gold and emerald things. Even when they were going through, Taissa and Van were chasing this man through the halls. Like so when it was Van talking, it was very red and brown behind her, which we've talked about their chakras and their alignments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, if it's green there, that represents the heart. Like Lottie's become the heart of the wilderness. Maybe she took the ring, which was a powerful ring. She probably added on some emeralds or hearts or stones. But I mean, I don't know. That's it's something. Yeah,
I like that.
And with the rabbit fur, I feel like she's embodying everybody here a little bit.
Yeah.
And she was with Travis a lot, so why would she not have Travis's ring? And that if the ring was the point of Travis's connection with his father, mm-hmm. and the point of Travis's like a item to use for them to connect to the spiritual realm, which makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. That could be.
Well, it's the same as with Natalie's wilderness armor. Because and one thing I forgot to mention when we were breaking down each piece of it, she was also wearing Jackie's necklace at the end of it. So, yeah, that's a really good point because if Lottie is kind of doing something similar, like her coat, we can see here is really reminiscent of the coat she wore out in the wilderness, but it's also someone mentioned it's made of rabbit fur. And then if she has, we know, well, she had Jackie's necklace, but I guess Shauna has it now, but that could be relevant to whatever the outcome of Lottie's demise was. But if she has the ring also, yeah, there's a lot of pieces and we're really playing with that. The armor, the full armor of God or the full armor of the wilderness.
Or just chaos witch. Like this
Mhm.
one, the suppressed chaos witching. But this is why I love the Bible because it brings in all of the realms of the occult. It brings in the realms of the spiritual realm. It brings in Greek mythology, Sumerians. It brings in ancient Assyrians, like the battle of all time. And a lot of these things are replaying. A lot of prophetic calling and mantles are here. And so she's taking the prophetic mantle of Jackie and giving it up to Callie and realizing that Callie is the next. And I think that Lottie was ready for that. She's been ready to die for a long time. And she's like, it chooses. And she was ready to sacrifice herself, remember, with the drink. She's like, if you all want, I'll drink it. Like, I put it here, or we can let it choose. But she's willing to sacrifice herself for the girls before. But now that she knows about Callie and the next leader, I think she's just done her part. Because she was the reigning queen. And the reigning queen, at a point, needs to step down.
Yeah, Lottie
She's like the
recognizes
grandma.
the natural evolution of the wilderness, right? Of
She's the
the
crone at this point, the crone.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
Natalie was, the maiden mother crone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't mean to interrupt.
oh no, you're fine. Yeah, I think that yeah, it's going to be really interesting how this whole thing has been set up because like I said earlier in the episode or earlier in the stream that it's, we had Van and Ty and their sort of reverse hunt as I call it. But then like Lottie was almost being set up for the same thing because she's on the phone with Ty and Ty's like, "Where are you? Where are you? What did you say when you said so and so?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't even remember what I said." Like it's almost like she's enticing her or tempting her to track her down. And then there's the jackhammering in the background, which of course is like underworld symbolism. And then we find that Lottie, she dies in these tunnels. So we have to wonder, like, yeah, was there a sort of hunt set up and did Ty or Shauna, try to track her down? It's definitely the setup of a murder mystery, and I am here for it. It just is very exciting, very fun stuff. So we'll see how this goes. And and someone had asked earlier. So yeah, I made a video that was like a news story style of what happened to Charlotte Matthews. We have a mysterious death on our hands. And, we here at the Monday Morning Murder Podcast, we have an exclusive connection to an insider at Sunshine Honey. And, and so we're working on this case and we will bring our most up-to-date information to you as we receive it. So keep your eyes out for that.
You're silly. I love it. Hey, I know. Okay, so we have a question here. From unknown girl from the wilderness. Who is this unknown girl? Is this the man? From the girl with no eyes. We have a question or about or want a request for you to talk about Melissa and Chandra because I know you want to go there.
Shauna and Melissa have an interesting dynamic going on. They really like have each other's backs. I think that Melissa is like super sprung on Shauna. Like you can see she's literally down so bad. And she is just like eyes always fixated on Shauna. And you can see actually, because we didn't have much of Melissa's personality before that, but we could really see in these last couple episodes that because she has sort of Shauna on her side, she's become a lot more empowered to be kind of sassy. And, in defense of Shauna, obviously, but even just on her own, she's just kind of got a newfound attitude, where a new, like, toughness that she's kind of getting from her dynamic with Shauna, feeding off of it, if you will. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I like it. Of course, I think Shauna deserves to have somebody sort of on her side, or maybe someone who can kind of finesse her and calm her down a little bit. Um,
I think it's going to
but
be
we'll
like
see where that goes. And I do think it's interesting, like, if Melissa is one of these survivors and they leave the wilderness together, and now, like, Shauna doesn't want to have anything to do with her, or won't, refuses to speak to her, or whatever happened. Like, I kind of feel like if Melissa is one of the
Adam.
survivors, that sort of Shauna, put her in the box of the things that happened out there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or
Shauna probably is
just
still, like, carrying around this, like, she's got repressed sexual desires, obviously relating to Jackie and potentially to Melissa. Like, she may just be like a closeted gay or bisexual woman. I'm going to say bisexual because obviously she is interested in men, whether it's Jeff or whether it was Adam. Like, we can't just say, oh, Jeff's the only guy. No, she did hook up with Adam, and, he was hot. So, like, we can't sit here and say Shauna exclusively likes women as much as people want to, she's canonically bisexual. There's been 2 guys and 2 girls. Plain and
I think
simple.
it's anything at this point. Whatever gets her rocks off, which is like a psychopathic thing. I mean, they're picky, but like very narcissists do have sex and porn addictions, and they will like try whatever, do whatever just for themselves, and they're very selfish about it. And I think what's going to happen with Melissa is the same thing that happened with Jeff. Same thing that happened. The only thing is that like the death of Jackie made her feel guilty and stick with Jeff because she wanted to be Jackie so bad. That's what she thought. But how Adam treated her, like she had a chance to be with Adam, someone who really loved her and adored her and was whatever, and he became obsessed with her. Just like I think Melissa's going to be, because what it is it's narcissistic supply for them to feed their ego or justify, well, this person agrees with me. Like this person does this despite whatever it is. It's something
Yeah.
as someone that is agreeing with them. And I think Melissa at this point wants to be validated and is living in fear, but also like, turned on by the fear. Melissa's like low key, like she wants to be the, the submissive one, submissive. Like I
Absolutely.
don't, yeah, like I mean, being submissive is hot, but like I don't blame her either. Like it's a hot dynamic what they got going on. Like I like the strawberry loop thing too. I like it all. She's a trisexual. Yeah, like I'm a,
Yeah. She's
exactly,
a
whatever.
bisexual goth. Yep.
It doesn't matter. Let's go back to should I put the Dionysus crown back on? Let's go. We want to talk about sex, gender, whatever. It does not matter. It's hot and sexy. Love is love. And there's so many
Yeah.
different forms of love. And there's so many different, like, distorted forms of love. And the point is, just like, we're taught these things. Like Misty thinks love is a soap opera, a dramatic thing, or some musical, and it felt kind of a lot of this. And I just really think that's Melissa, if she ever comes back, it's for vengeance. It's for like, bitch, you broke my heart. Like, what the hell? You left me there after everything I went and did for you in the wilderness. Here you are. And you
Yeah.
went back to Jeff. Like, I mean, and Jeff has proven himself worthy. It's nothing to do with Jeff. But it's Shauna just being complacent, being like saying, hey, or this was the identity that I wanted, or this was the identity that Jackie had, or maybe her carrying the guilt. And when she came back and started to feel it, instead of processing it, she wanted to stick with like what she had before and hold on to Jackie, hold on to what was left, hold on to her parents. Why the hell is she going to her parents' house every year? Like this is a lot of things. Like
Mm-hmm.
Shauna has a hoarding problem, but for emotional needs from her childhood, and we see that with her daughter. We see that with jerking off to her daughter's boyfriend, with her emotional need to have a teenage life, to have
Mm-hmm.
that childhood that was ripped from her, and it's really sad. But man, Melissa is like, if she does come back with a vengeance, and we see her with Shauna's van. Like
What's that?
in the preview, isn't that Tarzan that she's driving? Is that what? If we
No,
ever
it's a
seen that,
different,
explain.
it's a black vehicle, but yeah, I think Shauna might get a
Oh,
new car. That
ooh,
might be happening
yeah,
for some
the black
reason.
underground,
I
the
could be
black
wrong.
carriage
I could
to
be
the
wrong.
underground.
But
But yes, so I don't know. Well, I think we're chat. What do you guys think? It's Hillary Swank's Melissa. Like throw a heart in there if you think so, okay? Because we love Hillary Swank. So let's just go. We're sure. Throw an axe. I don't know, but
there is a scene here. Sorry, there's a comment here. It says
no, go ahead.
Travis was adamant about wanting to get that ring to bring something back for Javi. Interestingly, there's a scene in season 2 that was cut, that's in the script that talks about Travis actually, or he found the ring in the cabin, just like thrown on the floor. And this is right after Javi comes back to the cabin. I want to say it's episode 207. And so Javi's come back to the cabin and he finds the ring on the floor. Like Javi's just like discarded it or whatever. And Travis gets super mad and like starts yelling at him about it. But they cut that scene. So it's kind of interesting. Seems
Well,
kind of
there's
relevant.
emotionally charged objects are some of the
Yeah.
best things
Yeah.
to do for witchcraft or sacrifices or things like that, or prophetic mantles, like how the dress flew from the sky and landed, and that was like super Ezekiel prophetic mantle things, Jackie's jacket or Nat's jacket, and a lot of them are wearing these other things, which is like that intermeshing of it. Yeah, one ring to rule them all. Darkness find them, perhaps.
Totally.
You know.
I love that.
But yeah, I think this might happen too. I definitely do. My unknown girl with no eyes. That's what I'm gonna call you. Welcome, friend. Welcome, beloved.
Yeah.
Um.
All right, you guys. Well, let's go ahead. Let's start wrapping this up. Before we do, though, I wanted to share with you. So, as we talked about in the beginning, we are doing our March Madness bracket right now. And so hashtag it chooses. And we have polls running every day for the month of March. So definitely make sure that the wilderness hears you and go and vote on those polls, whether here on YouTube under the channel post, the community post, or over on X or Twitter. If you have an account over there, definitely go follow us and find the polls. My Twitter handle is at Faye_fire. So you should be able to find me on there, get some voting done over there. And I wanted to quickly share the bracket, although it's kind of hard to read it.
Yeah,
so
I think.
do
Wait,
your best. Whoops, let me.
Did you make the changes? We changed a few things, but
Yeah, there's been a couple changes, and there's actually one. So I wanted to. Here, let me try. Let me just do this full screen.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
we
Full
go.
screen.
So.
Yay.
There's a couple that, so we've gotten through the first couple of days. So let me pull off my.
I did it.
Here.
I did it for you.
Oh, you did it for me?
I did it for you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, so this is our full bracket right now. There might be a couple of changes going on. I did make one change. I've decided that as, I think Mandy and I deserve to have a resurrection card. So, as your hosts of March Madness of It Chooses. So I have actually I've already used mine and I'm putting it out there. So day 1 we had Charlotte Matthews, adult Charlotte Matthews versus Callie Sadecki, and Lottie won, of course, adult Charlotte won. But you know what? I just feel like it's too soon for Callie to be out of here. So I am making an executive decision and I put Callie back in. So she will be in a couple of days, you will see Callie on the ballot again. And if you have a problem with that, I don't care.
Well, Callie was technically reborn during all of this trauma, so we'll let it slide. And plus, we had like a whatever character in that spot, and we wanted to change it anyway. So I agree with you, Erin.
Yeah. So if you have one, Mandy, if there's a resurrection card that you need to play, then you know the options are there. And as far as everyone else, you have the daily voting options available, but also to my patrons. If you go over and subscribe to my Patreon and support the channel over there, you are actually also given, what are we calling it, Mandy?
The Queen card.
The Queen card. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But there are restrictions to the Queen card that must be played by the first, second, and Sweet 16 rounds. There will be no Queen cards accepted after. And then everyone is in the polling for one heart necklace, which will be, for the great Elite Eight, which someone will have to play. Now, if you want to play your Queen card, if you subscribe, you have to subscribe to Patreon. But if you want to play your Queen card, you're going to have to let us, put it in there, let us know on Patreon, and we'll play it. But, so if you say, for example, want to play it on the 14th Gilly versus Hot Chocolate, and you want to choose 14th Gilly, right? What will happen is if someone else wants to choose the Death by Hot Chocolate, they can play their Queen card. So whatever Queen card is first will trump, the next one will trump the next. Yep. So play wisely. But I wouldn't hold off till the end or if you want to, I mean, it's up to you. But you're in the game, so you're going to have to vote. 2/3 majority isn't here. Sorry, we vetoed that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But you only have until the Sweet 16 to play that card. Yeah. But it's something. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun because it's kind of like when you're in the wilderness and you're thrown an axe. You find the wilderness will give you something. We thought
the wilderness will offer a boon if you accept it into your heart by subscribing to Patreon.
Hey y'all, my little Callie wants to say hello. Hello world.
Oh, hello. We're not on the screen right now, but hello. Hi, honey.
Oh, Felix, my little Callie.
So we've got our options here. So definitely keep your eye. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you should be already. We're here with you all the time and you love us. We're already committed. We're in a committed relationship here. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and visit the community posts and get your vote on there. Or check us out on X/Twitter. You can vote there. And we will see how things progress. And of course, I'll be keeping my eye on the patrons. So if you guys want to use a Queen card, you have the option, and you're supporting the channel as well. I needed to share with you guys. Now's the
good. It'll get really
we got a message. Now, as many of you guys know, I live in Alaska, in a remote area of Alaska, and sometimes they just shut down the whole internet because it's happened before. It happened back in September for 3 weeks. We had no internet because somebody severed a cable out in the ocean. So apparently we're having no internet again for up to 10 days starting on the 7th of March. So I don't know. I know that they have a Starlink over at the library. The 7th of March is this Friday. Isn't that wonderful? Alaska's fantastic in that way. So I don't know. I'll maybe be able to get something out. I don't know. I can't make any promises. And I guess we're not going to be doing our normal Monday stream next week. Unfortunately.
Well, maybe not. So let's just have a good spirit. Let's ask the wilderness to provide.
Thank you, Misty.
We will. We must ask the wilderness because you know what? Because, but also, what happens is every time we say we want to do something, it never really goes through. So let's make sure that this happens. I really want to. But
Mandy might be holding it down. For all we know, Mandy might hold it down. At least I can call her from my phone. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out.
I'm not going to hold it down without you. No, I would never do it without you, ever, my love. I will not. You're happening. We are the road.
Okay. I don't need this in Yellowjackets. I really don't need this. I don't know. Maybe I'll go live on Thursday night right after the episode because for me, the episode airs at 8 p.m. on Thursday, whereas for everyone else, it starts at midnight on Friday for whatever, Amazon, whatever. So maybe on Thursday night afterwards, I'll go live for a few minutes and just get my thoughts out. So then, I don't know. We'll figure it out. but just keep an eye on the channel. Ring your notification bells, and I'll be here sometime.
We'll make it as soon as possible.
I can still edit videos like without internet, so I might be able to do that. And then if I need to, I'll go to the library and I can upload it from there with a Starlink. Literally, like, isn't this the ghettoest shit, you guys? Like, sorry, but like, this is life in Alaska. Sometimes we don't have internet, and you know what? Such is the wilderness. So please understand my struggles. Sucks. All right, you guys. Well, anyways, that's a bummer. That's a bummer way to wrap things up for the end of the day.
No. We'll get it to you whether it's late or not. If we have to do it next weekend, then fine.
Yeah. If we, we might end up doing a double the following week, like we did with the first episode or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I love you guys, and I appreciate your loyalty no matter what. And yeah, I might be able to go live from the library, although they probably like hear me and they'll be like, "What are you doing, weirdo?" And I'll be like, "I'm just doing a live stream. It's fine." Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, y'all. So I appreciate you guys for being here. I think that's about it. I think we're done here. But keep an eye out, and I will hopefully have a follow-up video for you guys this week, and try and get some stuff out.
Callie vibe. Go on, Callie. Go on a Callie Oregano.
Before we leave, drop in the chat. If Lottie was murdered, who do you think did it? Who done it? Drop it in the chat.
Did Ty do that? My Lottie parody is just well, like mirror, mirror hanging on the wall.
Man, I'm super bummed. I hope that we get to do the live stream, because you know what? I made a really nice cover for Did Ty Do That? So let me just show it to you guys in case I don't get to utilize it.
Yeah. And I might also do a whole lot of love, like Lottie, like who killed Lottie? Underground schooling.
I just think that's a nice cover. All right.
Yeah, that actually is.
There's sparks in the background, like it's beautiful. So hopefully we'll get to use it. I want to give a shout out to the Yellowjackets promotion, because this photo shoot that they did pre-season 3 really like has made my covers look so nice. So I really hope that you guys do this again with the black background. It just chef's kiss. I love it.
Pink is the new black.
Did Ty do that? Like, okay, so who are you guys putting in the chat? Let me check here. So Walter,
I'm doing it right now.
Adult Melissa, probably Ty, whoever or whatever killed Travis. Interesting. I mean, the two of them are very, very linked.
I feel like I honestly feel like she drank the juice. I feel like Lottie drank the juice.
The juice?
The juice. She drank her own juice.
She drank her own Kool-Aid?
Yeah, I think she drank the death Kool-Aid because she knew she wanted to hand over the mantle.
Oh, her fentanyl spiked.
Yeah, she wanted to hand over the mantle. And then I think that with all of this maybe juxtaposition on the 96 timeline and finding that someone wasn't guilty at all, I think that is what they're trying to extreme and flip on the present timeline, is that no one is actually guilty. They want you to think of who did this and that. But I think Lottie just knew it was her time, and she was past her time, which was why she was teaching in the previous episode, and the kindest thing is death. So she gave up her life like Jesus gave up his so that the new ones could live.
That's interesting.
And I think that
I think it would be appropriate. It would work. It's functional. But her doing it alone, that's another question. I don't know. There's something about the red dress with Callie that's really like standing out to me. That's screaming in my face.
Well,
like
that was the mantle. Like how Jackie gave Shauna the red dress, and then Shauna wanted Callie to wear the red dress, but she didn't. But now Lottie gives her the red dress to wear. And she's like, I wouldn't. She didn't want to wear it. And that's when you get chosen. You don't want it. And then that's when you get chosen. Like how Dad didn't want it. Jesus didn't want it. King David didn't want it. There's a lot of people who didn't want it, and then that's what they want. And those are the ones who are fit to rule.
Mm-hmm.
And now, yeah, I think it's not in like a death thing. It's like it's in a trade, and she knew. And I think again, the kindest way is death. And the I'm sorry thing in the mirror, that's like a technique that I taught myself. I use it in the mirror every day. And there's also this Hawaiian technique called ho'oponopono, where you say, like, you look at someone and I look at myself and I say, I'm sorry. I love you. I forgive you. Please forgive me. And you say it with depth and feeling. And, I'm sorry. I love you. Forgive me. I
Yeah.
forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so powerful. And I think that she was using, here's my little star over here. I think that she was using, you should not use it. I use it with my son, and we grow so much and we connect so deep with it. But I think she was doing a mirror technique for herself, and
Mm-hmm.
forgiving herself and realizing and letting go of that. And once you let go, like just how Nat let go of her childhood trauma, and then it came and her death came. So it could really essentially be a beautiful thing. This thing that haunted her whole life was this dream, this vision of walking up the stairs. And then when she recognized it, she knew. And like how when she's standing by the door about to walk in, she flees.
Yeah.
So there's something with these prophetic dreams. And let's see what Akila's dream brings.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, love you guys so much. I love you, world. I love you, world.
Here. We really appreciate it. It's been a long stream, but we're going to pack it up and wrap it up, and we will be back sometime next week or the following week, hopefully. And I will try and get something out to you guys later this week and before Friday, because apparently I'm dealing with technical difficulties. But I appreciate you all for being here, and we are so thankful that you all made it, and you for spending your time watching us, spending your Monday mornings with us. And thank you all so much. And we will see you soon. Jackie out.